Chapter 1867. Wild and arrogant this time proved markedly different from their previous encounter. The members of the Tiger Head tribe were stunned, realizing they had underestimated their opponents before and had been caught off guard once again. But there was more to their shock. Who was that masked expert? Their presence had caught them completely unawares, leaving them utterly unprepared. The bandits of the three strongholds, already shaken by the intensity of the battle, found themselves dumbfounded. When had these newcomers entered in Zizhou? How had they gone unnoticed? The palpable aura of battle prowess emanating from these individuals surpassed even that of seasoned mountain bandits like themselves. They had the air of seasoned warriors hardened by countless battles on the battlefield. These were no ordinary bailiffs or martial artists. They were soldiers, veterans of the battlefield. The bandits, initially surprised, now felt genuine terror. What formidable force had they provoked? It became evident why Xiao Yunduan exuded such audacity and pride. As their comrades fell around them, the remaining mountain bandits dared not continue the fight. With panicked whistles they scattered and fled. Their escape, however, was short-lived. Ambushed along their route, they found themselves facing a small but skilled group of adversaries. Despite their best efforts, the bandits were swiftly overwhelmed and scattered in defeat. At the conclusion of the battle, only a scant dozen managed to stagger back to their village, their ranks decimated and their spirits shattered. Panic and fear gripped every survivor, their sorry state a testament to the ferocity of the conflict. Second-in-charge Chao, esteemed leader of the Tiger Head tribe, fell victim to the chaotic flurry of swords. The third-in-charge of the Min family tribe and the second-in-command of Liuhe Fort were apprehended by the officials, while the remaining small leaders who failed to escape met their end on the battlefield. As the defeated soldiers retreated in disarray, the leaders of the three villages convened in the intermediate Tiger Head tribe, nearest to the giant rock gorge. Eager anticipation filled the air as they awaited news of the battle's outcome, their hearts buoyed by hope. Unexpectedly, they received shocking news that made them feel as if they were in a dream. It was like a bolt from the blue. Everyone was stunned by this news. So much so that his eyes and mouth were wide open, and he stood there in a daze for a long time. Second brother, how is it possibly, Euro? I don't believe it. How can that dog official's subordinate be so capable? The third-in-charge of Tiger Head tribe shouted angrily with a pale face. He suddenly grabbed a man who had escaped and punched him twice. He grabbed him and asked sternly. Then he was scared out of his wits. He stuttered and trembled, but he did not dare to Liuro. There was no way he could lie about such a thing. In the end, the third-in-charge kicked him away dumbfounded. The others weren't any better. The atmosphere in the rough intermediate hall was oppressive, angry, and sad. How dare you? If I don't take revenge, the heavens won't tolerate it. Revenge. Revenge. Everyone was furious. After a round of cursing, the third-in-charge of Tiger Head tribe angrily wanted to bring people down the mountain to take revenge. It was not easy for everyone to persuade him. Of course, revenge was imperative. However, the challenge lay in devising a plan for vengeance. Moreover, with members of the Min family tribe and Liuhe Fort captured and imprisoned in the state government prison, their priority was their rescue. They needed to secure their release before seeking revenge. Otherwise, if their enemies decided to retaliate by harming or killing the captives, their efforts would be in vain. The third-in-charge of Tiger Head tribe wore a grim expression. Though reluctant, he had no choice but to heed the necessity of saving their comrades. Given that this operation was a joint effort among the three clans, he couldn't act unilaterally. Furthermore, both the Min family tribe and Liuhe Fort held greater power than Tiger Head tribe, making it unwise to provoke them unnecessarily. Chapter 1868. Afraid of taking action, the third-in-charge of the Tiger Head tribe seethed with resentment and fury. I believe the dog officials will undoubtedly use them as bait. How do we rescue this individual? Storm the prison? I won't object, no matter what course of action you propose. His words dripped with bitterness and ire, causing the faces of everyone present to darken. Storming the prison was out of the question. The defenses at the giant rock gorge were meticulously laid out, and their forces had been decimated in their previous attempt. They couldn't even dream of infiltrating enemy territory. The recent defeat had been devastating, particularly for the Tiger Head tribe, which had already suffered significant losses before. Second-in-charge Chao's retaliatory expedition had only worsened their plight, costing him his life and leaving only 2 survivors from the tribe. With more than 2/3 of their elite warriors gone, the notion of breaking into the prison was ludicrous. Despite their reluctance to accept it, they had to acknowledge their limitations. Their actions knew no bounds. While avenging the fallen second-in-charge was a daunting task, their initial response was brutal and easy: a spree of massacre and pillage. They didn't dare breach the walls of An's city or confront Xiao Yunduan directly, but unarmed villagers were fair game in their eyes. To them, the villages were mere lambs waiting to be slaughtered. They could take lives at whim, as many as they pleased, with the government powerless to stop them. Their violence and plunder knew no bounds. Yet, they made sure to leave a few villagers alive, spinning a tale of retribution against the lord of the prefect. They blamed him for the calamity, citing his vicious actions against their brethren as justification for the villagers' suffering and demise. For years, peace had prevailed. But with the arrival of the lord of the prefect, disaster followed. They argued that to reclaim tranquility, the lord of the prefect must be driven away. Otherwise, unless he possessed the means to eradicate them all, they would endure endless torment: a cycle of harassment, pillage and bloodshed. The specter of revenge would be looming over every resident of An's provincia. Should such an atrocity occur, those displaced citizens would undoubtedly harbor deep animosity toward Xiao Yunduan, leaving him in a precarious position. In response, influential families would clandestinely unite, potentially preventing Xiao Yunduan from assuming the role of prefect altogether. He might face severe censure and accusations of recklessness, accused of disrupting the delicate local equilibrium without considering the consequences. His eagerness to make a mark had led to a catastrophic loss of life and untold suffering. Yet, amidst the chaos, survivors from the Min family tribe and Liuhe fort languished in captivity. Should the Tiger Head tribe unleash their vengeance upon the populace, these captives would surely suffer as well: a scenario intolerable to the Min family tribe and Liuhe fort. The Tiger Head tribe couldn't afford such Machiavellian schemes. The leader of the Tiger Head tribe sneered with sinister intent. "We have options aplenty. With careful planning, not only can we rescue our kin, but we may also exact retribution upon that vile official. Didn't that official recently welcome a son into the world? Perhaps we should visit his wife and child with our wrath. Brother Qing, what strategy do you propose? Waste no time in enlightening us," implored the Min family's leader. Chapter 1869. Method. Brother Qing spoke up. "That woman from the Fan family reached out to us just 2 days ago. Let's seek her out once more. And Deputy Prefect Guan is known to be approachably a." His words left everyone stunned. But gradually, their eyes sparkled with understanding. The news of the bloody skirmish at Giant Rock Gorge quickly permeated An's prefecture city. While the common folk rejoiced, the various families trembled in fear, resigned to accepting the grim reality. Among them, those who had once dallied with the mountain bandits in clandestine dealings felt a shiver of apprehension, like birds startled by the twang of a bowstring. They were plagued by deep unease, fearing a resurgence of their past entanglements. Previously, they hadn't dared to underestimate the lord of the prefect, recognizing his capabilities and refraining from provoking him lightly. Now, their reverence for him swelled from the depths of their souls. Yet, the most rattled by these events were the members of the Fan family. First Old Master Fan and Second Old Master Fan possessed intimate knowledge of the situation and were gripped by intense fear. Even Old Lady Fan, typically stubborn and eager to undermine Xiao Yunduan, remained conspicuously silent on the matter. Fan Rian never imagined that the Tiger Head tribe would come knocking at her door. They tasked her with arranging for Madame Xiao to leave the city and notify them once the date was confirmed. Fan Rian felt a twinge of fear. While she wished ill upon Xiao Xian, she balked at direct involvement in such matters. She had already expended considerable sums when initially declining their proposition. Having paid the Tiger Head tribe, she expected them to fulfill their end of the bargain. Why should she be dragged into this personally? Yet, could she reason with the Tiger Head tribe? By willingly engaging with them, she had unwittingly entangled herself, akin to crossing the Rubicon and now seeking to backtrack. But this wasn't her decision to make. The tribe employed both subtle persuasion and coercive tactics. Refusal might invite dire consequences. Even as a member of the prestigious Fan family, one of the region's 3 major clans, she recognized the tribe's ability to deal with an ordinary individual like herself. Fan Rian was both shocked and incensed, yet she dared not defy the Tiger Head tribe's demands. Only now did she grasp the formidable force she had provoked. Initially, she had rationalized the bandits' actions as born of necessity, believing them to possess innate goodness. But now, faced with their coercion, she felt a pang of regret, wishing ill upon Xiao Xian. Forced by the tribe's pressure, Fan Rian humbled herself, reaching out to reconcile with her sister-in-law and second sister-in-law. First Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan were taken aback but soon recognized her newfound contrition. Though her demeanor remained somewhat awkward, it marked a significant improvement. Previously, she would never have initiated such gentle and polite conversation with them. Feeling both relieved and moved, the two madams of the Fan family contemplated how they could have altered their approach years ago, realizing that persuasion, not confrontation, might have been more effective. Their sister-in-law's lack of repentance and escalating recklessness had dragged the Fan clan towards an irreversible path of ruin. Having made amends with her sister-in-laws, Fan Ruyan seized the opportunity to extend an invitation to Qiao Xian. I admit fault for the incident at the banquet. It was a grave mistake and I deeply regret its consequences. Chapter 1870. Knowing her mistake, in all our years the Fan family has never encountered such a situation. The Bright Moon Villa in the southern suburbs boasts picturesque landscapes, perfect for leisurely activities. I wish to extend an invitation to Madame Xiao and a few other madams to enjoy the scenery. It's also an opportunity for me to offer my sincere apologies to Madame Xiao and mend any grievances between us. Sister-in-laws, I implore your assistance in this matter. It's for the betterment of our Fan family. The two Madame Fans harbored no suspicions upon hearing this proposal. Upon reflection they deemed it a splendid idea. First Madame Fan in particular, nodded with genuine agreement. Absolutely. Though I hesitate to admit it, we must tread carefully around Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao. Consider the events at Giant Rock Gorge. Hundreds of bandits fell to Lord Xiao's forces. Their leader is either dead or incarcerated. Only a handful managed to flee. Those bandits were formidable, yet Lord Xiao proved even more formidable. It would be unwise to provoke him. Madame Xiao has endured much from our family. It's imperative that you extend a sincere apology during this outing. Let's hope Madame Xiao is merciful and refrains from targeting our Fan family in the future. Feeling a twinge of guilt, Fan Ruyan dared not dispute First Madame Fan's counsel. She offered a forced smile and humbly acknowledged her lesson learned. Seeing Fan Ruyan's newfound humility, First Madame Fan was greatly pleased and decided to treat her with kindness. Fan Ruyan was ecstatic and wasted no time in urging First Madame Fan to set a date for the gathering in the coming days. With the weather being favorable, she emphasized the importance of not delaying the arrangements. First Madame Fan readily agreed. The following day she approached Qiao Xian in the backyard of the state office, extending the invitation with a warm smile. She invited Qiao Xian to join them at the Bright Moon Villa in the southern suburbs in 2 days' time. The weather is delightful, perfect for a leisurely outing. Our estate boasts splendid scenery, and I invite Madame Xiao to experience it firsthand. Additionally, I wish to express my sincerest apologies for the incident at the banquet. I also hope Madame Xiao will grant us the opportunity to sketch together. Qiao Xian graciously accepted the invitation with a smile, assuring her presence. First Madame Fan was elated. Showering Qiao Xian with compliments, she departed with a contented smile. Since the harrowing events at Giant Rock Gorge, numerous ladies had come to pay their respects to Qiao Xian. She could discern a palpable shift in their attitudes towards her, marked by newfound respect and admiration. In the past, politeness may have been merely superficial, but now it emanated from the depths of their hearts and bones. Lixia, Liqiu, and the others rejoiced for their old master and madam. Their old master's competence surpassed mere appearances, rendering superficial displays obsolete. They dared anyone to belittle their madam. Henceforth upon Xiao Yunduan's return for lunch, Qiao Xian relayed First Madame Fan's invitation to venture outside the city for scenic enjoyment and a visit to their estate. Xiao Yunduan's expression soured. The Fan family knows no bounds. Inviting you out of the city for a leisurely excursion. I can't fathom their intentions. Don't entertain it. His wife wasn't knave. Even within the city limits, Xiao Yunduan couldn't assert complete safety, let alone venture beyond its walls. Having decisively quashed the village's arrogance this time, inflicting heavy losses and debilitating their strength, he knew they would harbor intense animosity. Chapter 1871. Apologize and treatment. Now was the time for strict vigilance, raising their guard to the utmost level. They couldn't afford to let their defenses waver in the slightest. Xiao Yunduan was adamant about safeguarding his wife. Having tasted the anguish of almost losing her once, he refused to endure it again. I don't trust the Fan family's intentions. Let's not be swayed. Bright Moon Villa can wait. Well, go wherever you wish after we've dealt with the bandits, he declared, a smile on his lips. Inwardly, Qiao Xian sighed. She yearned to accept the invitation. Even her husband's caution couldn't deter this opportunity that had presented itself on the day of the giant rock gorge incident. She had fervently wished to go. Disguised, who would recognize her as the prefect's wife? With her presence, victory would have been assured, and none of the enemy would have escaped. No one would slip through her grasp. But she couldn't risk it. As the prefect's wife, venturing to such places was out of the question. Thus, she could only await news anxiously in the government office alongside Xiao Yunduan, who shared her apprehension. Thankfully, her hopes weren't dashed yet. This time, an opportunity had presented itself directly to Xiao Yunduan's doorstep. Naturally, he felt compelled to seize it. Xiao Xian tugged at Xiao Yunduan's sleeves, pleading, "Husband, please let me go. I can have Yi accompany us with some men. Those mountain bandits won't stand a chance if they dare to show themselves. And with prisoners in the state office's jail, they wouldn't dare to make a move. Come on, let's see if the Fan family is human or ghost." Xiao Yunduan's brow furrowed. No. It's too perilous. There's undoubtedly something amiss with the Fan family's invitation. Stop insisting. I won't allow you to take such a risk. Xiao Yunduan couldn't shake the feeling that the Fan family's invitation harbored ulterior motives. Xiao Yunduan couldn't afford to believe that the Fan family's intentions were purely benevolent. In a place like An's province, trusting all the prominent families was a risk he couldn't take. Anyone could have been in league with the mountain bandits, driven by coercion or fear of past grievances resurfacing. Xiao Xian longed to confide in him about her unique abilities, but she held back. The prospect was too daunting. She didn't want her husband to view her differently from now on. Despite Xiao Xian's pleading and various attempts to sway him, Xiao Yunduan remained steadfast in his refusal to let her go. Disappointment and discontent clouded Xiao Xian's expression. Xiao Yunduan, torn between amusement and frustration, embraced her tenderly, attempting to console her. "Darling, I promise to accompany you on a trip next spring, when the centaurea blossoms and the landscapes are resplendent. Isn't that scenery more enticing? I've already devised a plan to apprehend the remaining mountain bandits before the new year. They won't linger until then. Just be patient." Xiao Xian was at a loss for words. Was her disappointment solely due to missing out on the scenery? It wasn't merely about that, though she did enjoy venturing into the mountains in search of treasures and game. It was something more profound. She yearned to share his burdens and actively contribute to significant endeavors. It felt like an immense waste to sideline her talents. Xiao Yunduan had confidence in I's prowess. With a handful of skilled followers and in the Fan family's territory, he doubted the Fan family would openly collude with the mountain bandits. With proper precautions, he believed nothing would go amiss. Chapter 1872. Secretly going unable to sway Xiao Yunduan, Xiao Xian resigned herself to taking action first and informing him later. With Xiao Yunduan preoccupied by the ongoing efforts to capture the remaining bandits and maintain order in An City, the government office buzzed with tension and urgency. Countless discussions and meetings filled the days. Hence, Xiao Xian instructed the nanny to look after her son, claiming she was going shopping in the streets. In reality, she departed the city with Mian Mian and Yi, heading for Bright Moon Villa. While bringing Yi along wasn't paramount, it would undoubtedly reassure her husband if he knew. Bright Moon Villa bustled with activity that day. Early in the morning, first Madame Fan and her sister-in-law, Fan Rian, arrived with their daughters in tow. Despite having meticulously prepared and even hosted a banquet to extend their apologies to Xiao Xian, they remained vigilant, lest any oversight sour her mood once more. For what if Xiao Xian construed any misstep as deliberate? They couldn't afford to tarnish their reputation. Despite their fatigue and worries, they remained committed to executing their tasks flawlessly. Throughout the morning, Fan Rian drifted in a daze, her mind wandering aimlessly. At one point, second Mrs. Fan had to urge her to speak louder, startling her in the process. Reflecting on this later, both first Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan berated themselves for failing to notice Fan Rian's obvious abnormality. They assumed her apprehension stemmed from concerns about Xiao Xian's acceptance of their apology. Realizing their earlier strictness might have instilled fear in Fan Rian, they felt a pang of guilt and sought to comfort her. "Sister, don't fret. Madame Xiao will surely accept your genuine apology. We're by your side and you won't face this alone." "That's right." Madame Xiao's agreement to come signifies her lack of intent to oppose the Fan family. "I won't say much, but ever since Madame Xiao arrived in An's province, she hasn't exhibited any domineering behavior or deliberately made things difficult for anyone. Except for Mrs. Guan, of course. She brought it upon herself." Exactly. Fan Rian found no comfort in their words. She felt her sister-in-laws were too noisy, and their remarks made her feel like she was scolding a locust for no reason. Growing increasingly distraught, she responded with nonchalance, trying to calm her mind with casual indifference. Around 10:30, Qiao Xian arrived at Bright Moon Villa. The carriage pulled directly into the manor, prompting first Madame Fan and others to rush out to greet them. All the guests, aside from the Fan family hostesses, gathered to welcome Qiao Xian with smiles, displaying respect in their friendly demeanor. Noticing this, Qiao Xian felt a mixture of amusement and emotion. She was even prouder. Her husband's influence was so significant that he could finally command the respect of these people. However, this was just the beginning. The ordeal was far from over. This was the most critical moment, with no room for error. Chapter 1873. Can't dislike it, can't kill it. Qiao Xian, however, harbored a wish for the banquet to be less enjoyable, perhaps even attracting more bandits. Upon catching sight of Qiao Xian, a surge of both old and fresh resentment flooded Fan Rian's heart, momentarily eclipsing her anxiety. She pressed her lips together tightly, shooting Qiao Xian a frigid glare before bowing her head and dutifully trailing behind first Madame Fan. That was the extent of her efforts. She couldn't vie for Qiao Xian's favor like the opportunists. To avoid complicating matters further, she chose silence. First Madame Fan greeted her with a smile and a discreet wink, signaling for her to impress Madame Xiao. But her sister-in-law seemed too rattled by recent events to notice the gesture, nervously keeping her gaze lowered. First Madame Fan couldn't afford to be too overt, fearing it might backfire or require coercion. Any verbal misstep due to nerves could be disastrous. Qiao Xian saw through Fan Rian's facade immediately. Fan Rian's demeanor remained unchanged, merely concealed beneath a veneer of composure. Qiao Xian hadn't anticipated her audacity in seeking favors from a tiger. She presumed Fan Rian still harbored animosity but lacked the courage to express it, embodying the proverbial, "I can't shake her off even if I dislike her." That was all. Qiao Xian paid little heed to such matters. As long as Fan Rian refrained from confrontations and avoided stirring trouble intentionally, she could easily ignore her existence altogether. Bright Moon Villa nestled in the foothills, its backdrop adorned with a peculiar peak. Upon opening its doors, one was greeted by a vast lake, its surface glimmering under the moonlight. A picturesque spot for moon gazing. Hence, the Fan family bestowed upon it the name Bright Moon Villa. Currently, the mountain foliage flaunted hues of red, yellow, orange-red and orange-yellow, presenting a vibrant and splendid spectacle. Large patches of wild chrysanthemums adorned the lakeside, their diminutive blooms resembling copper coins yet unfurling in succession like celestial stars. Despite their simple white and golden hues, they exuded an exceptional beauty amidst the verdant mountains and crystalline waters. During this time of year, the sky boasted an advanced clarity with faint clouds drifting lazily. The autumn breeze carried a refreshing coolness, and though the sun shone brightly, its rays were not searing. It was inherently uplifting to bask in the ambience of the lakeside. Accompanied by Qiao Xian, first Madame Fan and her companions ventured to the shore. Though outings were rare for the ladies, they reveled in the moment, exchanging laughter and conversation, animating the lakeside with their joy. A pavilion stood nearby, recently refurbished. First Madame Fan extended an invitation for Qiao Xian to join her for tea and conversation within its confines. Enthralled by the picturesque scenery, Qiao Xian expressed her delight and encouraged others to explore freely, opting to take a leisurely stroll. Observing her contentment, first Madame Fan eagerly began to highlight the villa's finest attractions to her guest. Qiao Xian refrained from causing embarrassment, much to the relief of first Madame Fan. However, her sister-in-law remained dissatisfied. The sister-in-law, who had initiated the banquet with good intentions, now seemed as reticent as a mute gourd in the presence of Madame Xiao, keeping her head bowed and uttering not a word. Perhaps she was merely shy, considering her past demeanor of dominance and strong will. Such a swift change was improbable. As Qiao Xian prepared to venture off alone, Fan Rian's eyes sparked with a sudden idea. She pondered how to discreetly coax Qiao Xian away from the group. Little did she know, opportunity was about to present itself on a silver platter. Chapter 1874. It must be a coincidence. Although Fan Rian knew she could find an opportunity to coax Qiao Xian away from the group later, perhaps when they entered the manor or during a moment of privacy, it wasn't the same as acting outside the manor's confines. If anything were to happen to Qiao Xian within the manor, it would bear no connection to the Fan family, making it easier to evade blame. As she watched two young ladies accompany Qiao Xian towards the east, Fan Rian's satisfaction grew. She couldn't help but mutter under her breath, "They're asking for trouble." Her words barely escaped her lips when Xiao Xian turned and caught her gaze. Startled, Fan Rian's eyes widened in panic, feeling as if she'd been caught red-handed. But Xiao Xian merely offered a smile before departing with the two young ladies. Relieved, Fan Rian let out a sigh, gently patting her chest as her heart raced. What in the world? No one else had heard her words, so how could Xiao Xian have possibly heard them? It had to be a coincidence. At least, that's what Fan Rian tried to convince herself. Yet, despite her attempts to dismiss it, she couldn't shake off the uneasy feeling gnawing at her. Meanwhile, Xiao Xian engaged in conversation with the two ladies, savoring the scenery, while her own maids trailed behind. Activating her powers, she extended her divine senses and soon detected a group of individuals less than 1,000 meters away. There were 8 in total, clad in nondescript cotton and peasant attire, but their furtive, bandit-like demeanor betrayed their true nature. It appeared the Fan clan was indeed up to no good. Their disregard for her husband was evident, otherwise, why would they act so recklessly? Listening in on their conversations was unbearable. They spoke as though she was already their captive audience. Xiao Xian had no intention of wasting any more time. Maintaining the facade of enjoying the scenery, she unleashed her powers. Suddenly the mountains trembled and the earth split open. Before the intruders could even react, they were struck unconscious by falling debris, silenced before they could comprehend what had transpired. The cacophony of falling rocks startled Xiao Xian and her companions, prompting screams that soon drew first Madame Fan and the others to the scene. "Madame Xiao, what's happening? Are you all right?" First Madame Fan's concern was palpable, fearing any further incidents might provoke Xiao Xian's wrath against the Fan familia, a disastrous outcome. Nervously, Xiao Xian gestured towards the distance. "We were simply admiring the scenery when a landslide occurred. We should send some people to investigate." Yi, who had been observing from afar, approached cautiously upon hearing the commotion. However, he maintained a respectful distance from the women. Upon receiving Xiao Xian's instruction, he nodded. "Of course, madam." The two startled ladies, still recovering from the shock, expressed their lingering fears to Xiao Xian, who reassured them with a comforting smile. With no time to spare, first Madame Fan swiftly organized a group of servants to accompany her. "Madame Xiao, landslides are not uncommon in these mountains," she reassured, hoping to allay any concerns. Chapter 1875. Instant removal. It's not uncommon for soil to give way, rocks to tumble down, trees to snap, or sudden flash floods. As long as it doesn't directly affect us, no matter how tumultuous it gets, it's manageable. I didn't anticipate scaring you today. I apologize, Madame Xiao. Please forgive me. Xiao Xian shook her head with a reassuring smile. First Madame Fan, you're not to blame. It wasn't intentional and am not one to hold grudges. How could I fault you? Please don't apologize. Laughter rippled through the group, easing the tension. Madame Xiao's rationality and understanding were apparent to Fan Rian's lips twisted in a silent sneer of disdain. Who couldn't speak prettily on the surface? But who could discern their true intentions? This person had always been adept at sweet talk like a blooming lotus. It wasn't news to anyone. Weren't these people a bit too trusting? First Madame Fan playfully chided, Madame Xiao, you truly are generous. I feel ashamed of my pettiness. The teasing banter lightened the mood further, dispelling the earlier solemnity and tension. Seizing the moment, first Madame Fan extended an invitation to Xiao Xian with a warm smile. It's almost lunchtime. Shall we head inside? The dishes may be simple, but they're made with fresh ingredients. Please join us, Madame Xiao. She harbored genuine fear of another mishap, finding solace in the safety of the manor's area. This sentiment resonated with the group, garnering unanimous agreement. Xiao Xian, with a smile, remarked, exploring the wild can be intriguing, and freshness is indeed a precious commodity. First Madame Fan, your humility is commendable. We are fortunate today. However, I can't help but feel compelled to uncover the truth. Let's wait and see what transpires. Despite First Madame Fan's reluctance, Xiao Xian's insistence left her with little choice but to acquiesce. Some among the group, fueled by curiosity, opted to stay and observe. They craned their necks, whispering among themselves in anticipation. Residing in a mountain town, they were no strangers to occasional mountain collapses, often triggered by prolonged heavy rain. However, such occurrences typically had a discernible cause. Before long, two maidservants rushed over, their expressions unreadable from a distance but clearly fraught with anxiety and urgency. Did something really happen? I don't know. It looks like Heavency Euro. First Madam Fan's heart skipped a beat. First Madam? First Madam? Something is wrong. The two maidservants finally ran over out of breath. A collective gasp swept through the group. First Madam Fan's ire flared. Mind your manners. What's the matter? Why are you alone? Where are the others? The two maidservants stiffened, their expressions growing tense before hastily responding. There's been a massive collapse nearby. Several individuals are unconscious, some partially buried and unresponsive. The others are stationed there. Yi instructed us to inform and summon additional help. Indeed. Panic ensued. What? Unconscious individuals? How did this happen? Who ventured there? Chapter 1876. Strange man. Heavens, Thesa Euro. This didn't kill anyone, right Euro? That's horrible. Hurry up and tell us what happened. True. A Euro. Qiao Xian's voice cut through the tension, commanding attention. Everyone quiet down. First Madam Fan, dispatch servants to aid them. Yi wouldn't alarm us without cause. There must be a reason behind his actions. You two recount everything from start to finish. Don't hold back. First Madam Fan's thoughts whirled with apprehension. She swiftly instructed the maids to summon help, then turned her gaze to the two maidservants. The assembled group fell into a hushed silence, fixating on the maidservants with unwavering attention. The two maidservants hesitated momentarily before relaying their account. Euro. As we approached, we witnessed the mountain rocks cracking, followed by a massive landslide. 8 men lay unconscious, some partially buried in the soil. It was a distressing sight. Euro. All 8 appeared to be middle-aged, clad in ordinary attire, and unfamiliar to us. It's puzzling how they ended up there. Euro. A veil of suspicion shrouded the onlookers as they subtly scrutinized First Madam Fan. The proximity of the collapse to their scenic spot raised doubts about the stranger's presence. Were these truly unrelated individuals as the maids claimed, or was there more to the story? Who could say if they were being truthful? Luckily, Madame Xiao's own servants had accompanied them. Otherwise, if those who went over were all from the Fan family, they might have kept it under wraps. Euro. But if these individuals were indeed invited by the Fan clan, what was their intent? What did the Fan clan have in mind? Regardless, the situation felt unsettling, and it likely involved the Fan clan. Unease rippled through the group, prompting a collective desire to depart promptly. As long as the Fan clan refrained from meddling, it was tolerable. Observing the unease among the attendees, First Madam Fan couldn't help but inwardly lament. She wasn't concerned about others' opinions, but she fretted over Qiao Xian's suspicions. Madame Xiao, this is truly peculiar. We wouldn't dare deceive you. The Fan family is as unaware as you and the other ladies. Please don't worry. I'll provide you with a thorough explanation. Qiao Xian regarded her solemnly. I trust you implicitly. There's no need for explanations. Those strangers are undoubtedly up to mischief. I'll instruct Yi to escort them back for interrogation by our lord. What say you, First Madam Fan? First Madam Fan felt a lump form in her throat. Instinctively, she wanted to protest, fearing any potential implications for the Fan family. However, Qiao Xian's rationale struck a chord, and more significantly, her esteemed status left little room for dissent. Madame Xiao is absolutely correct. Entrusting this matter to the authorities for investigation is the prudent course of action. Otherwise, none of us would find peace of mind. I must apologize profusely. I never anticipated that inviting Madame Xiao for a scenic outing would lead to Thesa Euro unforeseen circumstance. Qiao Xian's gentle smile reassured her. It was merely an unfortunate accident. Chapter 1877. Too strange. She cast a meaningful glance at the assembled group. Once this matter is resolved, the authorities will make an official announcement. Until then, no one should engage in speculation or spread rumors. Any adverse consequences resulting from such actions will be thoroughly investigated by the government. The madams nodded in stunned agreement, swiftly heeding her directive. First Madame Fan conveyed her gratitude to Qiao Xian with a grateful glance. With matters settled, there was little reason for Qiao Xian to linger. Those who asserted that her youth precluded divorce might miss her, necessitating her return to the city for another meeting at a later date. First Madame Fan didn't dare insist on her remaining. Instead, she smiled warmly and escorted Qiao Xian to the waiting carriage. Once Qiao Xian departed, the other ladies followed suit, vacating the scene. Before long, the area was deserted. With the aid of the Fan family servants, the 8 individuals were swiftly bound and placed into a carriage. Yi then led them away. Accompanied by First Madame Fan, Second Mrs. Fan and Fan Rian, along with a contingent of servants, they inspected the site of the collapse. The two maidservants who had initially reported the incident spoke truthfully. A significant portion of the hill had indeed collapsed, leaving behind a mound of rubble and scattered vegetation. Yet the collapse occurred on a hill abundant with soil and greenery. It seemed inexplicable that such a stable terrain would give way without cause. This is truly baffling. Fan Rian was tempted to seize the opportunity to disparage Qiao Xian, perhaps insinuating something along the lines of her presence attracts misfortune, but she hesitated. Her current demeanor restrained her from such slanderous remarks. First Madame Fan and her attendants deliberated to no avail, ultimately resigning themselves to the conclusion that it was an unforeseen accident. In the wagon, Qiao Xian grappled with confusion. Could she have been mistaken? During the maidservant's explanation, she had scrutinized Fan Rian's reaction closely. Yet, Fan Rian appeared genuinely surprised and perplexed, devoid of any guilt or unease. Something didn't add up. Qiao Xian couldn't fathom that someone as transparent as Fan Rian could conceal her emotions so adeptly. Perhaps Fan Rian hadn't even considered the possibility that the unfamiliar men were mountain bandits. Upon reflection, this seemed to be the only plausible explanation. Qiao Xian chuckled in disbelief, but soon, a sigh escaped her lips as she rubbed her temples. He had left the city with such determination, catching her husband off guard, only to return and likely face his reprimand. Considering her options, Qiao Xian couldn't devise a suitable strategy to evade his scolding, so she resigned herself to her fate. As expected, upon her carriage's arrival at the state government office's backyard, her husband stood there with an inscrutable expression, hands clasped behind his back, awaiting her. Qiao Xian's scalp tingled with nerves. Mustering a smile, she greeted him, "Husband, you've been waiting for me." His response only exacerbated her anxiety. Attempting to appear composed, she flashed a bright smile. "As you can see, I've returned safely. There was an incident at Bright Moon Villa, and I swiftly discerned that something was amiss, hence my prompt return home." Chapter 1878. His lesson. Xiao Yunduan's expression tightened as Qiao Xian spoke. "Really? Should I compliment you?" he asked, his tone laced with a hint of sarcasm. "No, no." Qiao Xian quickly shook her head, a flattering smile on her lips. "There's no need for that. I know I was wrong. I won't ever sneak out of the city again. This time I just wanted to see what the Fan family will do, and I'll be cautious." "Cautious?" Xiao Yunduan's anger flared. "You know what kind of family the Fan family is. You know how arrogant and domineering Fan Rian and Old Lady Fan can be. How could you risk it? Even if you're cautious, you're stepping onto their territory. What good will that do? If something were to happen, even if she sensed danger, could she handle it? Help from afar wouldn't reach in time. The news would spread and he wouldn't be able to rush to her aid. Just the thought made him shudder, a cold sweat breaking out. It would drive him insane. Yes, you're here too. Qiao Xian had never seen Xiao Yunduan lose his temper like this, realizing she shouldn't have provoked him, but she couldn't help herself. She tugged at Xiao Yunduan's sleeve, speaking softly, "I'm confident that with IS capabilities the Fan family won't dare touch me unless they want trouble with you, the prefect lord. At most, they'll try to address the situation openly, to acknowledge the elephant in the room. I could whisk her away to safety in minutes." Qiao Xian attempted to explain and console Xiao Yunduan, and his expression softened slightly. Breathing a sigh of relief, Qiao Xian recognized the boundaries of her influence. She couldn't afford to joke about herself, not when her life experience was still unfolding. How could she have been so rash and thoughtless? But there was one truth she couldn't reveal: her extraordinary ability to control everything within the courtyard. Regardless of Fan Rian and the others' schemes, she was always aware. She wouldn't allow anyone to plot against them. If she backed down, wouldn't it embolden Fan Rian's arrogance? It would imply that she, as the prefect's wife, feared the Fan family, which would severely disadvantage Xiao Yunduan in his struggle against them. Awareness dawned on Qiao Xian. The stakes were high, and many keen observers were watching the power struggle between the prefect and the Fan family. The outcome would shape their stance and tactics toward the prefect's office. Qiao Xian refused to be a liability. The Fan family had brazenly invited confrontation, and she intended to deliver a resounding blow. Moreover, she was determined to drive them to the brink of madness. Xiao Yunduan sighed, gently grasping her hands. "I understand you're trying to support me, my dear, but there's no need. I'm genuinely worried. I'm scared too." Qiao Xian interjected with a smile. "I won't act independently anymore." Xiao Yunduan's expression softened. "That's what I want to hear." "Absolutely," Qiao Xian affirmed. I'll always consult with you. Xiao Yunduan paused, contemplating. He sensed there was still a lesson she needed to learn. Chapter 1879. The second day Xiao Xian was left speechless. I'm not pretending, she insisted. I just feel like resting a bit longer. Even in defeat, she refused to admit defeat. Despite his unreasonable behavior, she tried to see reason in it. Xiao Yunduan didn't argue, merely smiling. You slept from yesterday afternoon till now. Do you still want to rest? What? Xiao Xian's eyes widened. Was it already the next day? The brightness of the sun confirmed it. She realized her perception was skewed. Late autumn meant shorter days and longer nights. She had thought she slept for a significant period with the elder, but apparently not. Xiao Yunduan noticed her shock, his smile widening. Xiao Xian composed herself, refusing to give in. She couldn't let him think he'd won. So she blinked and replied calmly, I know, but I could still use a bit more rest. Wanting to say, I'm just tired and need more sleep, she changed her words, fearing it might stroke his ego too much. Xiao Yunduan chuckled softly, pinching her cheeks affectionately before enveloping her in his arms. His voice lowered, carrying a note of sternness. Promise me no more recklessness. Do you understand the danger? Think of our son and me. He had placed too much trust in her, never imagining she'd act so boldly without consulting him first. The moment he heard the news, a chilling fear gripped him, his heart plunging like it had been struck by lightning. He dared not contemplate the consequences. Those mountain bandits lacked even the fourth prince's limited restraint. If she fell into their hands, the suffering she'd endure was unimaginable. He wouldn't blame her, but he couldn't sway public opinion. And what if he couldn't reach her in time? He swiftly dispatched guards and headed to Bright Moon Villa, determined to protect her without alarming her, though his heart seethed with silent reprimand. Although he chastised himself inwardly, Xiao Yunduan couldn't bring himself to forcefully stop her from leaving the city. So he silently reproached himself. This woman dared to be so bold, and he bore some responsibility for it. Hearing his words, Xiao Xian felt a pang of guilt, her heart softening. She reached out, wrapping her arms around his waist, and nestled her head against his chest. I understand, my love. I promise I won't put myself in harm's way. With Ai and Ben Lei by my side along with the guards, I can ensure my safety. I couldn't bear to put you and our son at risk. I want to support you, she continued earnestly. I don't trust Fan Rian's intentions inviting us for a meal. I just want to see what she's plotting, what the Fan family is up to. Until these matters are resolved, we won't truly be safe. I know my limits. Xiao Yunduan's touch was gentle as he stroked her hair. All right, I'll trust you from now on. But promise me you won't do something like this again, understood? He truly had no other choice. He couldn't confine her to their home and deny her freedom. Chapter 1880. Don't dare again. In that case, it was better for him to be proactive and ensure her safety by sending someone to protect her. It was far preferable to her taking such risks on her own. Xiao Xian smiled, nodding. Yes, I understand, husband. I'll heed your advice. Bah. Xiao Yunduan scoffed, not entirely convinced by her words. He reached down, playfully pinching her soft waist, and whispered, If you dare to defy me again, I'll have you confined to bed for 3 days and nights. Xiao Xian blushed, suddenly feeling self-conscious. She pushed him away, retreating under the blanket, and pouted coyly. Just go already. Independent Illinois, get up. Xiao Yunduan grinned. Are you sure? Shall I help you change first, or should I take a bath? Wife, do you want Li Xia and Li Qiu to see those marks on your body? Xiao Xian's face flushed hotter, her body turning limp. She couldn't bring herself to meet his gaze but still managed to pout. It's all your fault. Euro from yesterday afternoon until now. She felt utterly embarrassed as the lady of the household. This man was shameless. Wasn't he worried about being slandered behind his back? Of course not. He was the master here. Who would dare speak ill of him? Old master seemed to have an answer for everything, or so he thought. But Xiao Xian shook her head inwardly. Xiao Yunduan smiled proudly, unfazed by any hint of shame. They'll have someone prepare a bath for me first, all right? Xiao Xian, eager for the soothing warmth of a bath, readily agreed. With her husband's persistent teasing, their bath stretched into a 4-hour affair, nearly reaching dusk. Emerging from the bath, Xiao Xian felt rejuvenated, as if a new chapter in her life had begun. Meanwhile, the Fan family, including the 2 Madame Fans and Fan Rian, returned to the city shortly after. Although today's gathering lacked the perfection of previous banquets, Madame Xiao had clearly signaled her willingness to reconcile with the Fan family. The first Madame Fan felt she had achieved her goal and harbored no regrets. But Fan Rian couldn't shake her disappointment. Unexpectedly, amidst the festivities, a mishap occurred. Madame Xiao departed early and returned to the city unharmed. How unfortunate. Fan Rian lamented, still unaware of the connection between the unconscious men and the bandits. She only regretted the missed opportunity. Why hadn't the bandits struck earlier? If only they had arrived earlier to snatch Xiao Xian away. Fan Rian never anticipated a knife at her throat in the dead of night. Don't move. I'm from the mountain. The voice belonged to one of the mountain bandits. Fan Rian breathed a sigh of relief, assuming him to be an ally. Why are you only here now? You said you'd snatch someone from Bright Moon Villa during the day. Xiao Xian went there today, but you didn't show Euro. Shut up. The knife pressed harder against her neck. Are you playing dumb, you wretch? The searing pain made Fan Rian tremble. She dared not move, her voice quivering. What do you mean, Euro? Are you asking me? The man's teeth clenched, his curses venomous. 8 of our men went, none returned. Heard they were nabbed by the authorities. Did you rat us out, you filthy traitor? Chapter 1881. Interrogation. In the middle of the night, enraged, the mountain bandit stowed his knife and delivered a harsh slap to Fan Rian's face. His hand was rough, calloused and scarred. In his fury he showed no mercy. The force of the blow sent half of Fan Rian's face recoiling, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth, her head throbbing. Suppressing a scream, she clenched her teeth, groaning as if her molars had loosened. Clutching the blanket tightly, she struggled to sit up, her voice trembling. What did you say? Her expression shifted drastically. Could it be them? What are you talking about? The man demanded. Speak. Fan Rian's vision blurred, nearly fainting. Fear mingled with fury. How foolish. Why hadn't she realized sooner? Who else but those mysterious men near Bright Moon Villa? Why hadn't she made the connection earlier? With trembling lips, she recounted the entire encounter to the bandit. Euro, foolish woman. The man's rage surged. He slapped her once more, his teeth clenched. Traitor. Those were our comrades. You watched them get taken by the authorities. The man seemed to favor alternating his slaps, landing one on each side of Fan Rian's face. Fan Rian had always been caustic and diligent about her skin care. Her skin, fair and delicate as tofu, couldn't bear the force of the blows. Her face reddened and swelled instantly, streaked with red, purple and blood, a ghastly sight. Tears streamed down her face, the pain nearly rendering her unconscious. She covered her battered face, voice trembling with tears. I didn't know Euro, it's too coincidental. But, Euro, the man glared at her, his expression darkening as he sneered. Crafty woman, do you take me for a fool? Such coincidences don't exist. I know the terrain near Bright Moon Villa well. Rocks don't collapse without reason, and it's implausible for all 8 to be knocked out simultaneously. Do you really expect me to believe this? The 8 men who descended the mountain were seasoned elites. The one leading the raid was the 3rd in command of the Tiger Head tribe and 2nd in command of the Liuhe fort. He was the 4th in command of the Min family tribe and led 12 others to meet them 5 kilometers away. Capturing the wife of an official's dog required utmost vigilance. They were well acquainted with the terrain, confident that the official couldn't thwart them. But this accident blindsided them. A blasted accident. Even if rocks fell, their skills would prevent everyone from passing out. This treacherous woman must be lying. Have you been colluding with the government? Did you orchestrate today's events to ensnare us? How dare you plot against me, you wretch? No. I swear I'm innocent. Fan Rian's heart raced with fear. I'd never betray you. If I did, would I allow myself to be captured? The officials won't spare our Fan family. Surrendering to them is out of the question. Their demise is our only hope. Your Majesty, you must believe me. The man glared at her with venom. Deep down he believed her. He cared little for the feud between the Fan clan and officials, but he trusted that Fan Rian, foolish as she was, lacked the courage to betray them. Chapter 1882. It's hard to get off a thief's ship unless the Fan family wanted to abandon Anne's province altogether. The man growled, Stop your excuses. I won't trust a word you say. Figure out how to lure that dog official's wife out. If you fail, I'll obliterate you. And your precious Fan family along with you. Don't think you're clever. If you dare double-cross me for a dog official, unless your family hides within the prefect's office and never steps outside, No, I swear. Words mean nothing. I want action. Get up and write something. Now. Fan Rian hesitated. Written evidence could easily fall into the wrong hands, becoming a vulnerability. but with a knife at her throat she had little choice. Once aboard the pirate ship, it wasn't easy to disembark unscathed. The loyal worldly folks she thought she knew were ruthless bandits willing to wield their blades against innocents without a second thought. Fan Rian dared not refuse, muttering her grievances silently. With trembling hands she penned the incriminating evidence and pressed her fingerprint. Illiterate as he was, the bandit trusted Fan Rian's sincerity. If she dared deceive him, her Fan family would face dire consequences. Satisfied, the bandit nonchalantly pocketed the document. He glared at Fan Rian, sneering, "Listen up, you wretch. You have 3 days to lure that dog official's wife out of the city, by any means necessary. Fail and you'll face my wrath." "Butayuro what?" Euro. As the bandit swaggered off into the night, Fan Rian collapsed to the ground, her limbs weak, hugging herself as tears flowed. Fear, anger, shock, and regret overwhelmed her, mingled with panic and despair seeping through her entire being. Exhausted from crying, she remained huddled against the bed, her mind blank. What was she to do now? Those mountain bandits were a force to be reckoned with, terrifying and ruthless. Fan Rian's resentment towards Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan festered. If not for them she wouldn't be in this mess. They were the ones who coerced her into seeking out the mountain bandits. Yes, it was all their fault. To Euro. If she was suffering, she wouldn't let them off the hook either. Yes. Qiao Xian, how could she lure her out of the city? What was her plan? First Madame Fan's eyes widened incredulously. What did you say? You want to invite Madame Xiao to Qingsong Monastery to offer incense the day after tomorrow? Explain yourself. First Madame Fan couldn't fathom her sister-in-law's intentions. Was she defying Madame Xiao? Since Madame Xiao had pardoned their family, why stir up trouble? She was already apprehensive. Every time she invited Madame Xiao, something went awry. She dared not do it anymore. But her sister-in-law seemed undeterred. Fan Rian masked her embarrassment with a smile. Sister-in-law, I still feel uneasy. Madame Xiao might say she doesn't hold grudges, but who knows if she's just being polite. After all, we invited her to Bright Moon Villa for a scenic view and a banquet, but she left without eating lunch. Euro. If she harbors resentment, wouldn't that be Euro? Chapter 1883, Treating Again. So, I initially thought the 15th was 2 days from now. Qingsong Monastery is renowned for its vegetarian fare, so perhaps it's best to keep the guest list to just Madame Xiao. Mrs. Jia mentioned she's tied up at home, or else we could have extended an invitation to her as well. With a small gathering we can enjoy the best of both worlds. Initially, Madame Fan hesitated against Fan Rian's persuasion. After pondering for a moment, she found no harm in expanding her social circle. This was how acquaintances turned into friendships. Euro. Will Madame Xiao agree to come? Euro. To be frank, if she were in Madame Xiao's shoes, she wouldn't have accepted her own family's invitation. She will agree. Anything less and she'd be unhappy. That simply wouldn't do. Seeing her sister-in-law's puzzled expression, Fan Rian realized she was rushing things. She forced a smile. Sister-in-law, you're the matriarch of the Fan family. If Madame Xiao wishes to be a supportive spouse to Lord Xiao, she'll undoubtedly seek favor with the Fan family and honor your invitation. If you reach out to her first, she may even be eager. First Madame Fan found this reassuring. After contemplating for a moment, she smiled and said, Indeed, fostering a good relationship with the prefect's wife would benefit our family. Very well, I shall extend the invitation tomorrow. Absolutely. Fan Rian hastily agreed with a smile. But if you're planning to invite her, why wait until tomorrow? It's still early today. Why don't we go now? I'll give Madame Xiao ample time to prepare. First Madame Fan furrowed her brow and acquiesced. Very well. Euro. Initially hesitant to comply, she found herself swayed by the urgency. Yet, upon reflection, she wondered if this sudden eagerness from her sister-in-law was instigated by her mother-in-law. Why else would she be so keen on inviting Madame Xiao when she had previously opposed the idea? It must be her mother-in-law's influence. With a smile, first Madame Fan remarked, but on the day of the ceremony, you must engage with Madame Xiao warmly and actively. We cannot afford to repeat yesterday's mistakes. If we've extended an invitation to Madame Xiao, it's imperative that we alter her perception of us entirely. Do you agree? Certainly, sister-in-law. I'll proceed with caution. Fan Rian nodded, her mind focused solely on securing Qiao Xian's presence. As for the future? Well, she would deal with that when the time came. Euro. First Madame Fan couldn't help but feel a surge of pride at her words. Such foresight was a rarity. At that moment, without further delay, arrangements were set in motion. Gifts were prepared and they set off, dressed impeccably, to the state government office's courtyard to extend their invitation. Xiao Xian accepted with a smile. First Madame Fan departed, content with the outcome. Li Xiao and Li Qiu exchanged worried glances. Madam, I can't shake off this feeling that something's off about the Fan family lately. Absolutely. Who keeps hosting endless meals like this? It's rather suspicious. Madam, perhaps it's best if you skip the incense ceremony. I can't shake the feeling that the Fan family is up to no good. A sacred place like the temple is ripe for manipulation. It just doesn't sit right with me. Xiao Xian cast them a glance and chuckled. You two are quite observant, aren't you? Your vigilance has certainly improved. Li Xiao and Li Qiu exchanged a smile. After all these years by Madame's side, we must have picked up a thing or two, no matter how slow we were to start. Chapter 1884, I just want to see what they want. The trio enjoyed their conversation, sharing laughs. Li Xiao and Li Qiu hinted at the possibility of declining the Fan family's invitation. No need to decide just yet, I'll ponder it, Xiao Xian replied. Though she initially intended to attend, she decided to consult her husband before finalizing her decision to avoid any potential conflicts. After all, he had a tendency to become irritably Li Xiao and Li Qiu trusted their mistress to make the right choice and nodded with smiles. Just then the nanny Kaiwei arrived with the young master who had just woken up. Laughter filled the room as they all played together. Xiao Yunduan returned in the evening and the couple shared a meal. Sensing her husband's upbeat mood lately, Xiao Xian seized the opportunity to broach the topic of the invitation from First Madame Fan. Nestling against his arm, she spoke sweetly, Darling, what do you think about visiting Qingsong Monastery? I've heard their vegetarian cuisine is exceptional, especially the pine mushrooms and bamboo shoots harvested from the mountain's forest. They're said to be exquisite. Xiao Yunduan's silence spoke volumes. No wonder Xiao Xian had sensed something amiss the entire night. There was indeed cause for concern. You wish to attend? Yes, Xiao Xian affirmed. I suspect the Fan family has ulterior motives. Before Xiao Yunduan could respond, she continued, but I merely wish to discern their intentions. Xiao Yunduan's expression turned grim as he sneered. Merely attending the banquet at Bright Moon Villa yesterday led to a run-in with mountain bandits. I could dispatch officers to apprehend the Fan family on mere suspicion. Yesterday, Yi had brought back 8 captives, and after thorough interrogation by Xiao Yunduan, Sun Bai, Sun Qian and Jing Sang, it was revealed that 2 among them were leaders, while the rest were significant accomplices. This revelation sent shivers down everyone's spines once more. Jing Sang and his team were seasoned and resolute in their belief that the mountain bandits were undoubtedly linked to the Fan family, despite their denial. In this world, coincidences were a rarity. It just so happened that Madame attended the banquet at Bright Moon Villa. It just so happened that the bandits appeared near the villa simultaneously, each one a skilled operative. It required no stretch of the imagination to conclude that they were targeting Madame, intending to abduct her, perhaps to negotiate for the release of their captured leaders. However, fate had a different plan. Before they could execute their scheme, they encountered an unexpected setback. Truly the saying held true, the heavens have eyes. Clarifying the truth behind the matter proved to be a straightforward task. Under interrogation, it was unlikely that these individuals could endure punishment without breaking. Once a confession was obtained, they could proceed to apprehend the Fan family. With the Fan family in custody, no stone would be left unturned in the interrogation process. However, Xiao Yunduan hesitated to entangle himself with the Fan family at this juncture. The paramount concern remained the 3 villages. With the commencement of hostilities, the conflict between the 2 factions had officially commenced. Their objective was to eradicate the opposition entirely in one decisive strike. In comparison to the Fan clan, these individuals posed a greater threat. They operated outside the bounds of morality, disregarding the law and acting without scruples. One misstep could lead to irreversible tragedy. Therefore, upon uncovering their identities, Xiao Yunduan opted to steer clear of involvement with the Fan family. Chapter 1885, Xiao Yunduan's helplessness, the audacity of the Fan family to extend an invitation for the incense ceremony? They must be exceedingly brazen. Xiao Yunduan's frustration simmered. Even after their collusion was exposed and the mountain bandits apprehended, they still had the gall to deceive his wife into accepting their invitation. Their lack of scruples was staggering. Did they truly believe he and his wife to be so naive? Xiao Xian countered with a smile. Darling, I believe you may have misinterpreted the situation. While I cannot speak to the Fan family's involvement with the 3 villages, it's plausible that they may not be fully aware of recent events. My suspicion lies with Fan Rian. During our encounter at Bright Moon Villa, I subtly inquired about Qingsong Monastery. It was all orchestrated by Fan Riyan. First Madame Fan even vouched for her sister-in-law, claiming genuine remorse and a desire to apologize to me. It appears even she was misled by Fan Riyan's facade. Considering Fan Riyan's apparent ease in contacting the mountain bandits, it's evident the Fan clan maintains close ties with them. Since you've extended the invitation, I shall attend. Xiao Yunduan gazed at her with a mixture of resignation and admiration. After a moment's contemplation, he relented with a sigh and nodded. They'll make the necessary arrangements. You may attend, but exercise caution. Stick to well-traveled areas and avoid remote locations like the back mountain. Qiao Xian readily concurred, offering a smile. Indeed, I'll confine myself to the intermediate grounds of the monastery. The continued pursuit by those bandits indicates their disdain for both my husband and the authorities. Once within the monastery's bounds, they might feel emboldened, considering themselves masters of their surroundings. They're unlikely to venture into secluded areas like the back of the mountain. Xiao Yunduan's expression contorted into a disdainful sneer. I won't tolerate any threats to your safety. The very idea of someone daring to lay claim to his wife was preposterous. On the designated day, Qiao Xian, accompanied by Mian Mian, embarked in a carriage driven by the coachman, with Ai trailing closely behind. Alongside them were the Fan sisters-in-law. Qiao Xian noted the absence of Bo Ruirui, Fan Rian's daughter, and the presence of Mrs. Fan's two daughters. She couldn't help but inwardly scoff at Fan Rian's evident favoritism toward her own offspring. As they departed the city, the journey to Qingsong Monastery lasted less than an hour. Situated in An's province, the renowned ancient temple was nestled amidst pine trees, exuding an atmosphere of tranquility and simplicity. A winding path led up the mountain, guiding the carriage towards the main monastery, a journey of less than 20 minutes. Throughout the trip, first Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan entertained Xiao Xian with captivating tales and historical anecdotes about Qingsong Monastery, painting a vivid picture of its scenic beauty and cultural significance. Their unhurried pace allowed for frequent stops, and after over an hour of travel, they finally arrived at the intermediate monastery. Upon their arrival, the prefect's wife, alongside the Fan family's matriarch and their young ladies, were accorded the utmost respect by the monastery's staff. Led by a senior monk responsible for guest reception, a group of over 10 monks warmly greeted them at the mountain gate, escorting them with courtesy to the meditation room designated for esteemed visitors. The elder accompanied the guests for a brief period, during which Qiao Xian graciously assured them the freedom to pursue their own interests without disturbance. Recognizing her considerate gesture, the elder expressed heartfelt gratitude and admiration before taking his leave. After a short break and cleansing of hands, Xiao Xian, accompanied by First Madame Fan, made their way to the main hall to procure incense offerings. With infectious enthusiasm, First Madame Fan extended invitations to explore the monastery's various attractions, sparking Xiao Xian's curiosity and prompting her to join in the adventures eagerly. Chapter 1886. Buddha and Bodhisattva are all watching. Fan Rian struggled to maintain her composure, her heart in turmoil. Despite 2 days passing, the memory of the stinging slaps still haunted her. She had to plaster on layers of makeup to conceal the bruises on her face, and the lingering pain served as a constant reminder of her mission. But they couldn't afford to overlook Qiao Xian. Were those individuals still around? How could they apprehend Xiao Xian? The uncertainty gnawed at her, every moment agonizing. Unable to bear it any longer, Fan Rian resolved to take action. After some contemplation, she devised a plan. First, she persuaded second sister-in-law to return to the rest area under the pretense of fetching tea leaves and tea sets. Then, she ventured to the renowned bonsai garden within the intermediate section of Qingsong Monastery to make preparations. Subsequently, she invited Madame Xiao to join her in making tea. Second Mrs. Fan found the idea agreeable and promptly departed. In a stroke of luck, Fan Rian accidentally collided with First Madame Fan once more. Although she narrowly avoided hitting a pillar, her hair was left askew from the impact. Maintaining the image of a dignified mistress of the household was paramount, and having her hair askew was undignified. First Madame Fan felt a flush of embarrassment as she apologized to Qiao Xian and promptly excused herself to tidy her hair. With the departure of the two Mrs. Fan, before Fan Rian could speak, Xiao Xian cast a glance at the Fan family's young ladies and kindly reassured them, "Go and enjoy yourselves, don't worry." The young misses of the Fan family, already eager to explore, breathed a collective sigh of relief and quickly departed with their maidservants. Now only Qiao Xian, Mian Mian, Fan Rian and her maids remained. Qiao Xian flashed a smile at Fan Rian. Under Qiao Xian's gaze, Fan Rian felt a twinge of panic. She couldn't shake the feeling that Qiao Xian had sensed something, but upon reflection, she dismissed it as paranoia. Surely, if Qiao Xian truly suspected her, she wouldn't have agreed to come to Qingsong Monastery in the first place. Suppressing her unease, Fan Rian smiled and invited Qiao Xian to continue their activities. Qiao Xian happily agreed. Led by Fan Rian, Qiao Xian followed to a secluded spot. Fan Rian couldn't contain her excitement. She discreetly scanned the surroundings, wondering where the bandits might be lurking and when they would emerge to seize Qiao Xian. Lost in her thoughts, Fan Rian inadvertently stepped on the corner of her skirt, nearly tumbling. Fortunately, Pinglan reacted swiftly, rushing to her aid and preventing a fall. Fan Rian let out a startled cry, her complexion draining of color as she pressed a hand to her chest to steady her racing heart. Observing her distress, Qiao Xian offered a sympathetic gaze and inquired with genuine concern, "You seem preoccupied and uneasy ever since we arrived at Qingsong Monastery. Is something troubling you?" Fan Rian's heart, which had just begun to settle, leaped once more in terror. No. You must be mistaken, Yuro. I'm glad to hear that," Qiao Xian replied with a warm smile. "Remember, this is a temple and the Buddha and Bodhisattva are watching over us. If you encounter any difficulties, sincerely seek their guidance and assistance." Fan Rian's expression darkened further. "Ah, thank you for the reminder, Madame Xiaoyuro." Despite her tumultuous thoughts, Fan Rian understood her own intentions. She knew that the blessings of the Buddha and Bodhisattva were unlikely to be bestowed upon her endeavors. Chapter 1887. Teasing her she couldn't even risk the Buddha and Bodhisattva discovering her intentions. Perhaps Madame Xiao was deliberately taunting her. Fortunately, Qiao Xian shifted the conversation with a smile, steering away from the topic. Instead, she turned to Fan Rian with genuine interest. "Is there a spot within 500 meters of Qingsong Monastery that's serene, captivating and offers splendid scenery?" Mian Mian, privy to certain details, couldn't help but glance at her wife, suppressing a smirk. Fan Rian felt a surge of frustration. She inwardly cursed the incompetence of the bandits. Despite leading them to such a secluded spot, why hadn't they acted yet? Nevertheless, she maintained a composed smile and replied, "For tranquility and picturesque views, nothing surpasses the back mountain. It boasts lush pines, verdant bamboos, cascading waterfalls, natural springs, mountain blooms and peculiar rock formations. It's truly breathtaking. Since we're here, it's only fitting to explore the back mountain. Would you care to accompany me?" Fan Rian's eyes gleamed with anticipation. Yes, they might be lying in wait at the back of the mountain. Considering the monastery's numerous visitors, the back mountain offered the most seclusion, making it an ideal location for capturing targets. Qiao Xian smiled. "Shall we venture alone? Shouldn't we wait for first Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan?" Fan Rian desperately wished for the bandits to seize Qiao Xian soon, so she saw no reason to wait. With a smile, she suggested, "We can proceed without my sister-in-laws, Madame Xiao. My company should suffice." "Oh Hayuro, please, Madame Xiao." Qiao Xian glanced at her and replied casually, "Actually, my husband advised against visiting the back mountain before I came here. He mentioned that the back mountain isn't safe, and it could lead to trouble if anything were to happen. While the surroundings are serene, they're also quite isolated." Fan Rian felt a pang of frustration. What kind of words were those? However, Qiao Xian's refusal only fueled Fan Rian's conviction that the mountain bandits were indeed lurking there. "Your husband is overly cautious. This is Qingsong Monastery, a renowned ancient temple in An's province. The back mountain is routinely tended to by the monastery's masters. How could there be any danger? With the lush greenery and picturesque landscapes this time of year, it would be a shame not to explore them. Madame Xiao, won't you reconsider?" Fan Rian pleaded. "I understand, Euro." Qiao Xian feigned contemplation. Seeing an opportunity, Fan Rian persisted, doing her utmost to coax Qiao Xian into accompanying her to the back mountain, even resorting to flattery. Amused by Fan Rian's evident anxiety, Qiao Xian found the situation rather amusing. Although she secretly desired to visit the back mountain, she knew she would be the one handling any potential threats. There was no chance of others overpowering her. However, she dreaded her husband's wrath. She couldn't afford to provoke him when he was in a fiery mood. Regrettably, she had no choice but to relent. "Well, let's forget it." Qiao Xian sighed with disappointment, offering a wry smile to Fan Rian. "My husband is quite temperamental and he doesn't heed my advice. He'll be furious and he'll have to face his retribution later. I dare not risk it. After all, in marriage we should defer to our husband's wishes, shouldn't we? Since my husband has forbidden it, we must abide by his decision. Fan Rian, Euro. Suddenly Qiao Xian flashed a smile. But Mrs. Bai, you're so considerate. I feel embarrassed to decline your invitation, Euro. Chapter 1888. Fan Rian almost couldn't help it. Fan Rian's eyes sparkled with renewed hope. Lord Xiao won't have to know if we simply take a leisurely stroll and admire the scenery. You won't regret it? Absolutely, Qiao Xian replied with a slight smile. My husband is quite stringent and I can't keep anything from him. But next time, he'll seek his permission beforehand so that I can join you for incense offerings, Mrs. Bai. Please remember to extend the invitation when you return. Fan Rian struggled to contain her frustration. She almost believed Qiao Xian was mocking her. Very well, I'll be sure to invite you next to me, Euro. Fan Rian forced out through clenched teeth. Wonderful. Qiao Xian beamed. I didn't expect you to be so hospitable. I must have misjudged you, Mrs. Bai. Fan Rian's smile tightened further. She had a sinking feeling that Qiao Xian was deliberately taunting her. Euro. Shortly after, First Madame Fan returned with her hair neatly arranged. With no opportunity to object, Fan Rian remained silent. Qiao Xian and First Madame Fan chatted amiably as they proceeded to the bonsai garden for tea and exploration. Later they enjoyed a vegetarian lunch together. The vegetarian dishes at Qingsong Monastery were indeed exquisite. Each dish, from the savory mushrooms and wild fungi to the delectable dried bamboo shoots and stir-fried snow vegetables, was prepared with utmost care. The monks, eager to impress the prefect's wife, showcased their culinary expertise by meticulously crafting each dish with fresh, high-quality ingredients sourced from the nearby mountain. Qiao Xian couldn't help but commend the chefs for their remarkable skills and the exceptional freshness of the ingredients. After the satisfying vegetarian feast, the group made their way back to their residence. Throughout the journey back to the city, Fan Rian found herself consumed by despair. With each passing moment, her heart sank deeper. As the carriage drew nearer to An's prefecture city, any remaining glimmer of hope within Fan Rian faded away entirely. Impossibly, Euro. What had gone wrong? Had the bandits not made their move at Qingsong Monastery at all? Why was there no sign of their presence? As they bid farewell, Qiao Xian cast a smile towards her sister-in-law and expressed her gratitude. Thank you for your hospitality, Mrs. Fan. First Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan were also visibly pleased, responding humbly with smiles. Meanwhile, Fan Rian struggled to force a smile, her expression more akin to a grimace than a grin. Upon returning to the state office, Qiao Xian was met by Xiao Yunduan, who awaited her outside the gates. Their eyes met and smiles graced their faces. Xiao Yunduan swept her off the wagon, refusing to release her as he enveloped her in his embrace. With a smile he inquired, "How was your outing? Did you enjoy yourself?" "Absolutely," Qiao Xian affirmed, returning his smile before teasing. "And what about you? Did you accomplish anything?" Xiao Yunduan chuckled. Certainly. Indeed, he had accomplished quite a bit. Sun Bai and Sun Qian had personally led a team to conduct a thorough search, while Zheng Sang had positioned his men to keep a watchful eye on the periphery, ensuring no one slipped through the cracks. As a result, they had apprehended 13 individuals. Interestingly, upon questioning, it was discovered that there were precisely 13 individuals who had ventured to Qingsong Monastery. All 13 were now securely held in custody. For now, Xiao Yunduan's focus remained on his wife. With her safe return, his worries dissipated entirely. Chapter 1889. First-class reward. They continued their conversation as they entered the room, and Qiao Xian's spirits were lifted by the news. With a smile she remarked, "Excellent. We can apprehend as many of those troublemakers as we please, and they're likely to be quite significant individuals." Returning her smile, Xiao Yunduan expressed his gratitude, saying, "Thank you for your assistance today, my dear wife." Qiao Xian playfully quipped, "Will there be a grand reward for the best assistant?" "Indeed, a first-class reward," Xiao Yunduan affirmed with a grin. Intrigued, Qiao Xian's eyes sparkled with curiosity as she asked, "Really? What might that be?" Xiao Yunduan's smile deepened as he pulled her close, whispering into her ear, "Isn't the greatest reward to offer you the title of Lady of the Prefecture?" "Euro," Xiao Xian burst into laughter, giving him a playful pinch. "Can I eat or sell this Lord of the Prefecture? What value does it hold?" Xiao Yunduan chuckled, replying, "It's for consumption, not trade." Qiao Xian's excitement grew. "Euro, I refuse to converse with you further." Playfully pushing him away, she declared, "I'm off to see Anan." The audacity of that man was truly astounding, becoming increasingly shameless by the day. Fan Rian couldn't bear it any longer. She decided it was time to see her son, whom she had missed dearly throughout the day. Xiao Yunduan followed her, accompanying her to their son's side. Their little boy had grown remarkably since birth, his chubby cheeks flushed, and his bright eyes twinkling with joy upon seeing his parents. He kicked his tiny feet enthusiastically, waved his delicate hands and babbled happily. His innocence and charm were utterly irresistible. In comparison to dealing with a certain man, her son was undoubtedly a much more delightful companion. As Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan enjoyed their time together, Fan Rian's anxiety only grew, her thoughts consumed by the situation at the Fan family. Feeling a sense of unease creeping over her, she glanced up to see the sky darkening. Her expression shifted, and she abruptly rose from her seat, intending to visit Old Lady Fan's courtyard. That night she couldn't bear the thought of sleeping alone. She yearned for the company of her mother and decided to seek solace in her presence. However, after taking only a few steps, she halted abruptly. Fan Rian realized that seeking refuge with her mother was merely a temporary solution, not a permanent one. Even if she managed to escape for one night, it wouldn't solve the underlying problem. It was impractical to rely on her mother's company every single night. Moreover, aggravating the situation further would only lead to more harm than good. Her frustration boiled over, and she slammed her palm down on the table in frustration. Anger and resentment surged within her, fueled by a sense of helplessness. Madame Xiao's refusal to venture to the back of the mountain only intensified Fan Rian's feelings of injustice. If only she had insisted on bringing her there, perhaps the outcome would have been different. However, dwelling on what could have been was futile now. Throughout the night, Fan Rian was plagued by anxiety. She couldn't bring herself to close her eyes, fearing any sign of movement outside might signal danger. Every rustle made her heart race with apprehension, only to find it was a false alarm. Eventually, exhaustion overcame her, and she drifted into a fitful sleep, her troubled mind finally finding some respite. Fan Rian's night was plagued by restlessness. Every little noise made her alert, preventing her from getting any decent sleep. Just as she felt herself drifting off, she would jolt awake, her senses on high alert. Upon waking up, she felt a surge of nervousness, expecting something to have happened during the night. Yet to her surprise, everything seemed normal. As the dawn broke, Fan Rian couldn't help but feel incredulous. Had the night truly passed without incident? It felt surreal, like a dream. However, amidst her relief, a deeper sense of anxiety gnawed at her. She couldn't shake the feeling that the mountain bandits wouldn't simply let her off the hook. Just because nothing happened last night didn't mean she was in the clear. The looming threat remained, tormenting her with the knowledge that as long as she refused to comply, the danger would persist. Chapter 1890. The soft pick in the state office. Xiao Yunduan and Sun Bai had conducted separate interrogations the previous night, ensuring that everyone's identities were clarified. Their efforts yielded significant results. They had captured another leader, along with 10 other brave and skilled individuals. The apprehension of such key figures would undoubtedly weaken the enemy's strength, alleviating pressure during future confrontations. Excitement and jubilation filled the air as the team praised Qiao Xian's seemingly fortuitous influence. Comments like, "Madam is truly a lucky charm," and "her blessing is undeniable," coupled with Lord's favor, echoed throughout the room. Xiao Yunduan, however, tempered the mood with a reminder of the risks involved. He cautioned against inflating Qiao Xian's ego, emphasizing the need for caution in future endeavors. Acknowledging the persistent provocations from the bandits, Xiao Yunduan declared it was time for a proactive response. Addressing Constable Zheng and Constable Hang, he instructed them to prepare for an assault on Tiger Head Tribe. Their strategy was clear: systematically eliminate weaker targets and gradually tighten the noose around the enemy, ensuring their eventual defeat. Among the 3 strongholds, Tiger Head Tribe had suffered the greatest losses. With one of their leaders deceased and another captured and imprisoned, they stood as prime targets for further capture. Acknowledging the gravity of the situation, everyone present responded with solemn nods and gestures of agreement. Zheng Sang and Hang Xingshan swiftly descended to strategize, while the rest of the team assumed their designated roles and made necessary preparations. Hang Xingshan, a seasoned constable with 6 years of service in the An's province government office, harbored a deep-seated disdain for the mountain bandits, much like his colleague Jia Heming. However, unlike Jia Heming's more passive outlook, Hang Xingshan remained steadfast in his belief that the imperial court would inevitably intervene in An's province affairs. He had spent years covertly gathering intelligence on the three strongholds, anticipating a day like this. And now, with Lord Xiao's leadership, his long-awaited opportunity had finally arrived. Though it deviated from his initial hope for direct imperial intervention, Han Xingshan remained resolute in his commitment to eliminating the bandits, regardless of the means. Han Xingshan felt a surge of gratitude towards Lord Xiao for recognizing his efforts and promoting him. He pledged to remain loyal and dedicated, willing to sacrifice everything for someone who had acknowledged his contributions. Without Lord Xiao's support, Han Xingshan believed he would have remained unnoticed among the ranks. He vowed to stand by Lord Xiao's side for the remainder of his days, faithfully following wherever he led. The swift action against the three villages was not solely driven by Xiao Yunduan's confidence in his abilities. Han Xingshan's meticulous collection of valuable information played a crucial role in empowering Lord Xiao's decision-making. This fusion of trust and knowledge bolstered their resolve to confront the enemy head-on. In the middle of the night, Fan Rian finally heard the sound of boots landing. In a daze, she suddenly felt a little strange, as if someone was approaching. She opened her eyes and saw someone standing in front of her bed, staring at her coldly. She covered her mouth and almost fainted from fright. Who are you? It was two people. She didn't know any of them. The two of them did not look good. Their cold gazes wished they could cut her into pieces. What happened in Qingsong Monastery? Tell me everything honestly and clearly. Don't miss a single detail. Tell me quickly. Chapter 1891. Interrogation. The attendees that evening comprised the leader of the Tiger Head tribe and the second-in-command of the Min family tribe. 2 days prior, Min Si had returned, adamant about bringing his original followers to abduct Madame Xiao. Despite efforts to dissuade him, his pride prevailed, and his companions could only acquiesce. Confident in his vigilance, Min Si believed he could evade any trouble unscathed. However, to his surprise, none of them returned the following day, nor did anyone return the day after. The sudden turn of events left everyone incredulous. Suspicions turned toward the local official, whom they accused of foul play. Frustration boiled over as curses filled the mountain air, and in their rage, furniture was shattered. Was their visit tonight directed towards Fan Rian? Fan Rian hastily explained, I've taken her to Qingsong Monastery as instructed, but no one showed up. Don't blame Mayuro, I've fulfilled my part. Enough, snapped the Tiger Head tribe leader impatiently. Tell us precisely what transpired at Qingsong Monastery that day. Leave nothing out. Fan Rian found herself compelled to suppress her grievances and recount every detail of the previous day's events. As she spoke, the furrows in the brows of her audience deepened, their expressions morphing into clear displeasure and disdain. Despite their impatience and occasional snide remarks, Yi Jian endured and listened attentively. However, as Fan Rian persisted in her rambling narrative about the happenings at Qingsong Monastery, the leader of the Tiger Head tribe erupted, slamming his fist onto the table. Enough with the trivialities. Speak something of substance, woman. Startled, Fan Rian faltered. She couldn't discern her mistake. Yet she dared not retaliate in anger. Instead, she swallowed her frustration and pressed on, filled with regret and trepidation, realizing the grave consequences of her actions. As her tale concluded amidst continued curses, Fan Rian pondered the formidable entity she had unwittingly provoked. The dissatisfaction between the two of them only intensified. That's all you have to say? I am sorry, that's Alayuro useless. The Tiger Head tribe leader's reprimand was sharp. Are you as dumb as a rock? Our people are missing and you didn't think to investigate? Damn it. How did the officials find out? Oh, did you betray us? No, I swear I didn't. How could I even dare? Fan Rian shrank into herself, trembling with fear. She truly feared these individuals. Witnessing her fear, a slap landed on her face, stinging with burning indignation. The Min family tribe's second-in-command intervened. Qin, calm down. I doubt this fool has the guts. Fan Rian bit her lip, casting her gaze downward with sullen resignation. She silently retorted, You may call me a fool, but you're no better. Always getting captured. Fury flickered in the Tiger Head tribe leader's eyes as he glared at Fan Rian. He longed to unleash his anger upon her, but rescuing her remained the top priority. Find another way to lure that official's wife out of the city. What? Fan Rian appeared on the verge of tears. I fear it won't be simply after coaxing her out of the city numerous times, I worry she'll become suspicious. The Min family tribe's second-in-command cast a disdainful glance her way. He privately acknowledged that this fool of a woman was displaying a moment of intelligence, but Qing remained puzzled by her apprehension. Chapter 1892, bringing Mrs. Guan in. Not only was she suspicious now, but she had been suspicious all along. Wasn't the incident at Qingsong Monastery evidence enough? That wife of the dog official was certainly audacious. Despite knowing the risk, she dared to venture for the euro. Perhaps her standing in the official's esteem wasn't as high as assumed. The second-in-command declared, "Seek out Deputy Prefect Guan's wife and devise a plan to ensnare her alongside you." Fan Rian was caught off guard. With a sneer, the second-in-command taunted, "Unwilling? If not, then swiftly concoct a scheme to lure the dog official's wife out of the city." "I am willing, truly." Fan Rian desired to avoid further entanglement with Qiao Xian. She asserted without hesitation, "Mrs. Guan harbors immense disdain for that foolish couple. Shall undoubtedly assist us." The second-in-command remained silent. Whether she was willing or not might not be within her control. "You'll meet with her tomorrow." "Understood, Euro. Remember, you must go. You must convince her or else, humph." With a sneer, the second-in-command forcibly led away the scowling leader of the Tiger Head tribe. Fan Rian slumped against the headboard, her body trembling as she struggled to catch her breath. After some time she regained her composure, though her spirit remained drained. The weight of regret fueled her anger, intensifying her desire for Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan to face consequences. Their failure to do so would only deepen her disappointment. Every passing day felt interminable, pushing her to the brink of collapse. It was yet another night of sleeplessness. The following morning, Fan Rian awoke with dark circles under her eyes, her mind clouded and energy depleted. Reluctant to present herself in such a state, she adorned her hair with life pinglan, the golden hairpins and colorful silk flowers adding a semblance of vitality. Her face was concealed beneath a heavy layer of makeup. Surveying her appearance, she found solace in her semblance of beauty, resigning herself to the task at hand. Mrs. Guan harbored resentment, her disdain for Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan palpable. To Fan Rian's surprise, her attempts at persuasion yielded unexpected success. The government had officially declared war on the mountain bandits. Despite their victory in the initial skirmish, Mrs. Guan and even Scribe Guan remained skeptical of the government's purported strength. As Scribe Guan put it, "How capable is the government truly? They may deceive others but not me." Both harbored doubts, believing the government's claims to be exaggerated and suspecting Xiao Yunduan of merely indulging in self-aggrandizement. They anticipated his imminent downfall. The resilience of the three bandit strongholds, impervious to previous government attempts at destruction, only bolstered their skepticism. Xiao Yunduan's recent arrival only served to heighten their doubts. Who was he to triumph over the entrenched mountain bandits? Convinced of Xiao Yunduan's impending failure, Mrs. Guan readily agreed to collaborate without hesitation, mobilizing the bandits for action. Facing financial constraints, Fan Rian offered to cover the expenses herself. She wagered that with Xiao Yunduan's downfall, Scribe Guan would emerge triumphant, possibly even ascending to the role of prefect. At that point, financial worries would become a thing of the past. When the time came, Mrs. Guan vowed to repay her debt. Yet there was a matter to settle first. Wouldn't it be ideal if he were absolved of guilt? With receipt in hand, Fan Rian approached Mrs. Guan, charming her with a smile and prompting her to sign. Overwhelmed with delight, Mrs. Guan, unable to read and trusting in Fan Rian's integrity, pressed her thumbprint without hesitation. Euro. Chapter 1893. Tricked. Fan Rian couldn't help but regard Mrs. Guan with a newfound kindness, her smile deepening. She no longer felt alone in her struggle, she finally had an ally to share her burdens with. However, the next day, when Fan Rian met Mrs. Guan in the city courtyard as arranged, she was shocked to find the second-in-command of the Min family tribe and the head of the Tiger Head tribe accompanying her. As she listened to their arrogant demands and learned of their identities, she was left dumbfounded. Initially, Mrs. Guan was furious and adamantly refused their requests. She argued that since she had paid them, they should be the ones to carry out the tasks. The idea of her husband becoming a spy was unthinkable and taboo. The repercussions of such an act being discovered would not only ruin his career but could also result in his family being expelled. Furthermore, Mrs. Guan realized that by agreeing to their demands, she inadvertently implicated herself in front of Fan Rian. She understood the gravity of the situation only after comprehending the document she had signed and stamped the previous day, feeling as though she had been struck by lightning. In her anger and frustration, Mrs. Guan lashed out at Fan Rian, accusing her of deceit. You tricked me." Fan Rian's smile remained gentle as she spoke. "I'm not trying to deceive you, Mrs. Guan. am here to assist you. We share a common goal. Don't you desire the demise of Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan? Mrs. Guan was left speechless, acknowledging the truth in Fan Rian's words, albeit unspoken. Before she could protest further, the leader of the Tiger Head tribe grew impatient, interrupting, "Enough with the chatter. Where are the written agreements? Do you think I'd hesitate to deliver them to the authorities now?" Mrs. Guan felt her head spinning. Returning home on unsteady legs, she recounted the encounter to Scribe Guan, who reacted with a mixture of shock and anger. After a moment of contemplation, he resigned himself to the situation, finding solace in the opportunity it presented. He chose to keep the matter to himself, realizing that it aligned with his own desires to collaborate with the mountain bandits. His wife's actions merely solidified his decision. That night, the first and second in command of the Tiger Head tribe stealthily entered Scribe Guan's house. Scribe Guan maintained his usual composure as he received them in his modest study. In the course of their conversation, both sides found themselves in a remarkably harmonious accord. It came as no surprise. During Scribe Guan's tenure as deputy prefect, he had engaged in dealings with the mountain, albeit indirectly. While he had never met their leader or engaged in direct contact, their paths had crossed in various ways. Given the circumstances that now compelled cooperation, it seemed only natural for all parties to come together. Despite the discomfort of being coerced, Scribe Guan rationalized that Xiao Yunduan's actions had provoked such measures from the mountain dwellers. Viewing it from this perspective, the arrangement became more palatably before long, an agreement was reached. The leader of the Tiger Head tribe would assist in eliminating Xiao Yunduan, staging his demise as an accident. Such a resolution would spare the province considerable trouble and provide the court with a plausible explanation. He resolved to ascertain the whereabouts of Xiao Yunduan's incarcerated associates with utmost urgency. When the leader of the Tiger Head tribe dispatched individuals to liberate them from prison, he pledged his assistancia. As for Xiao Xian, the prefect's wife, the Tiger Head tribe leader couldn't afford to prioritize her at present. With Xiao Yunduan eliminated, her significance would diminish even further. Her behavior baffled them. Despite multiple attempts to abduct her, each endeavor ended in unexpected circumstances. They were left somewhat unsettled and opted to refrain from further action against her for the time being. Moreover, there were suspicions that she might be under clandestine surveillance. Chapter 1894. Cooperation. They couldn't afford to waste any more time. Swiftly rescuing their captured comrades from the clutches of the officials became their top priority. Failure to act promptly would only leave them in a perpetually disadvantaged position. Despite the perceptions of cruelty, inhumanity, shamelessness, and despicability from the outside world, their loyalty to one another and their shared experiences mattered most within their ranks. Ignoring the plight of their captured brethren and defying the government's authority would essentially equate to their betrayal and demise. Such actions would undoubtedly breed disillusionment among their comrades, potentially leading to the disintegration of their entire community. Aware of potential dissenting voices within their midst, they understood the dire consequences of inaction. Should dissent prevail, their fate would be sealed, even without the government's intervention. Scribe Guan, recognizing his ability to gather intelligence and collaborate with them, saw an opportunity to leverage his past influence. Despite his current position as a lowly scribe, his years as deputy prefect had left him with allies, individuals indebted to him, and those aware of others' weaknesses. It was the perfect moment to capitalize on these connections. With minimal effort, Scribe Guan obtained precise information regarding the captives' whereabouts. He promptly contacted them, advising them to prepare themselves as reinforcements from the mountain were on their way to effect their rescue. When the leader of the Tiger Head tribe and the second-in-command of the Min tribe received the news, they promptly scheduled a midnight meeting with Deputy Prefect Guan 2 days later. A villager would be dispatched to initiate a breakout from the prison, and they requested Deputy Prefect Guan to make the necessary arrangements. Their plan included setting fires in the state office and ensuring the jailers were intoxicated beforehand. Deputy Prefect Guan readily agreed to their proposal. On the appointed night, chaos erupted within the expansive state office. Approximately 50 to 60 individuals from the 3 villages assembled. As flames engulfed the deputy prefect's office, they launched a coordinated assault on the office's rear courtyard. Despite Scribe Guan's arrangements for them to access the designated prison, they bypassed it entirely and headed directly to the east yard where Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian were housed. Their distrust of Scribe Guan ran deep. They couldn't fathom why a man under scrutiny by the authorities, particularly one despised by Xiao Yunduan, wouldn't be under surveillance himself. Having been deceived once before, they refused to be duped again. Falling for the same trick twice would be sheer folly on their part. During this special period, Zheng Sang and the others all lived in the state office, including the dozens of people sent by Meng Wanfu. Since they had already been officially exposed, there was no need to split up and hide. They also lived in the state office to protect the safety of the state office and prevent prison break-ins. Thus, although the other party's attacks were swift and fierce, Zheng Sang and the others were experienced. Wu Guan, Wei San, and the others who were patrolling the night would block the first wave of attacks. Just as they were about to be defeated, Sun Bai, Yi, Wei Wu, and the others had already arrived. Hang Xingshan directed the bailiffs and servants to extinguish the flames spreading throughout the premises, while Sun Qian led a contingent to lie in wait outside the prison, ready to thwart any attempted break-ins. Inside the bedroom of the East Yard, Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian were together, the latter cradling Anan in her arms. The maid stood by silently, their presence a calm contrast to the chaos outside. As the flames danced outside, casting erratic shadows, the clash of swords echoed through the night. Despite the tension in the air, panic was notably absent within the confines of the room. Anan slept peacefully in Xiao Xian's embrace, her serene countenance a stark contrast to the turmoil outside. After more than 2 hours, the cacophony gradually subsided until silence reigned once more. Chapter 1895. Sudden Attack. Aftermath. Sun Bai entered the house and relayed through the bedroom door curtain, "My lord, the intruders have retreated. I've dispatched men to pursue them, but it's uncertain if any remain hidden within the state office. For now it's best for you and madam to remain indoors. I've already ordered a thorough search of the east courtyard, and no irregularities have been found. I'll manage the aftermath immediately. Yi will lead the guards to patrol the east courtyard. You can rest assured, my lord and madam." Xiao Yunduan nodded. "Proceed with the necessary arrangements. Assign men to patrol the city and advise the populace to remain vigilant and restrict unnecessary outings. Strengthen security at the city gate, opening it at dawn for inspection of all entering and exiting individuals. Detain anyone arousing suspicion. If manpower is lacking, enlist aid from local guards and the first in charge to bolster our efforts at the city gate." Sun Bai was taken aback, his face breaking into a pleased smile. "My lord's strategy is ingenious. We won't lack for manpower." While entry into the state government office was impossible, stationing reliable individuals to patrol and guard the city gate was entirely feasible. A mere 2 bailiffs could lead the team. Sun Bai hastened to implement the directives, while Xiao Yunduan instructed Li Xia and the others to rest. He entrusted Anan to the nanny's care, then took Xiao Xian in his arms, smiling reassuringly, "My dear, you've stayed awake half the night. It's time for you to rest as well. Sleep soundly." Xiao Xian agreed with a smile and settled down beside him. Outside, the bailiffs swiftly commenced the cleanup process, diligently addressing the aftermath of the chaos. The aftermath in the east courtyard, where the fire had raged, demanded immediate attention. Despite being extinguished, it left a disarray that required thorough tidying. The aftermath of the intense conflict left behind a scene of devastation. Numerous mountain bandits lay strewn across the ground, their weapons scattered amidst pools of blood, painting a grim tableau of the recent skirmish. Among all areas within the state office, the east courtyard bore the brunt of the damage, though other areas also bore traces of the altercation, albeit to a lesser extent. Curiously, there was no activity observed at the prison. It remained undisturbed throughout the night, devoid of any visitors. A handful of mountain bandits managed to evade capture, their movements reported sporadically by those who returned. Some were apprehended, while others continued to elude capture, their whereabouts unknown. Sun Bai, meticulously orchestrating affairs, relayed updates and issued directives ceaselessly throughout the night, ensuring the state office remained vigilant and active. Unbeknownst to all, once Sun Bai had effectively stabilized the situation, he and Yi remained behind to oversee operations. Meanwhile, Sun Qian, Zheng Sang, Wu Guan, Hang Xingshan, Yang Mu, Wei San, Wei Wu and their cohorts, accompanied by a contingent of subordinates and bailiffs totaling approximately 120 individuals, quietly departed the city under the cover of night. After traveling more than 20 miles from the city, the group disembarked from their carriages one by one. They dispersed into the surrounding mountain ranges, advancing stealthily toward the Tiger Head tribe from 3 different directions. Little did anyone in the 3 villages suspect that Xiao Yunduan would dare to launch an attack on their villages before fully quelling the situation at the state office. Their lack of preparedness would undoubtedly exact a devastating toll as dawn approached. news of the previous night's events spread rapidly throughout the city. Rumors circulated that mountain bandits had infiltrated, only to suffer a resounding defeat during their assault on the state government office. More than 10 assailants had managed to escape, but 11 had already been apprehended. Authorities continued their efforts to capture the remaining 4 or 5 fugitives. Given the ruthless and cunning nature of the mountain bandits, the populace was urged to prioritize self-protection. They were advised against unnecessary outings, especially alone or in sparsely populated areas. Suspected individuals were to be discreetly reported to the patrol team, with a promise of a reward of 10 taels of silver for each successful tip-off. Upon hearing this incentive, the common folk felt emboldened and motivated to aid in the apprehension efforts. Chapter 1896. Can't leave the city. The common folk harbored a natural fear of mountain bandits, but seeing their weakness firsthand, they appeared more akin to street rats, cowering from the authorities. With the allure of 10 taels of silver and the visible presence of patrols led by bailiffs, the once feared bandits seemed less intimidating to the populace. The tantalizing promise of 10 taels of silver proved irresistible. In less than half a day, 3 more mountain bandits fell into the clutches of officials and vigilant commoners, who left no stone unturned in their pursuit. Remarkably, 2 of the captives were apprehended thanks to tips from the common folk. News of these apprehensions swiftly spread throughout the city, further emboldening and energizing its inhabitants. The mountain bandits, once perceived as formidable adversaries, now seemed decidedly less fearsome, mere mortals subject to capture like any other criminals. Eager citizens scanned the streets vigilantly, some even forming groups to patrol and explore remote alleys in hopes of earning the coveted 10 taels of silver. The unexpected turn of events left Xiao Yunduan and his cohorts in a state of disbelief, unsure whether to laugh or cry at the unforeseen outcome. Meanwhile, in Fan Ruyan's bedroom, the leader of the Tiger Head tribe, second-in-charge Min, and 2 other key figures of the mountain stronghold remained concealed, their presence unbeknownst to anyone in the office. In a corner of the room, Fan Ruyan trembled, her form huddled and bruised. The 4 individuals present bore visible signs of injury. The leader of the Tiger Head tribe sported a lengthy scar across his face, while another suffered from a sizable arm wound, hastily bandaged and stained with blood. The remaining 2, though their injuries remained obscured beneath their bloodied attire, emitted an aura of pain and distress. The room reeked of blood mingled with the scent of incense wafting from the burner on the table, contributing to an atmosphere fraught with dread. Fan Ruyan's trembling wasn't merely from fear. She had endured 2 slaps to her face and 2 to her body, yet she dared not cry out in pain or leave her corner. She understood she was a target for their wrath, a punching bag for their frustrations. Her realization of the dire consequences of her actions filled her with profound regret. She had naively courted danger, now trapped in a situation from which escape seemed impossible. 2 days had elapsed, yet the city remained under stringent scrutiny. Venturing beyond the confines of Fan Manor seemed an insurmountable risk, a luxury denied amidst the ongoing search. Under Xiao Yunduan's rigorous surveillance, leaving the confines of Fan Manor would inevitably lead to discovery. Despite their confidence in Fan Ruyan's loyalty, the sense of entrapment gnawed at their nerves. Unaware of the Tiger Head tribe's demise, they remained oblivious to their own imminent downfall. Hang Xingshan's chance discovery of a remote path leading to the rear of the Tiger Head tribe provided a glimmer of hope. Though treacherous and perilous, the path offered a potential means of escape. Gathering their courage, the group of over 30 individuals embarked on a precarious journey, scaling the back mountains of the Tiger Head tribe under the cover of twilight. Their intrusion did not go unnoticed. Sentry posts at the rear of the mountain detected their presence, but before any alarm could be raised, they met a swift demise at the hands of Hang Xingshan and his cohorts. Under the cover of darkness, Hang Xingshan and his companions infiltrated the Tiger Head tribe from the rear of the mountain, silently setting up an ambush. In the dead of night, they stealthily advanced, swiftly dispatching any adversaries in their path while igniting fires to sow chaos within the tribe. Seizing the opportunity amidst the turmoil, another member of the group donned the attire of the fallen bandits, seamlessly blending in with the ranks of the intermediate bandits. Their guise allowed them to approach the front gate unhindered, facilitating its opening. Observing the sudden eruption of flames from their vantage point several miles away, Sun Qian and his cohorts sprang into action. Overcoming any opposition encountered along the way, they surged towards the Tiger Head tribe, joining forces with Hang Xingshan and his team to eliminate the bandits. Chapter 1897. Attack. The once formidable Tiger Head tribe had been significantly weakened, with its 3 leaders and 2 minor chiefs conspicuously absent. The losses sustained in the preceding skirmishes had already depleted 60 to 70% of their core forces. Faced with the sudden onslaught from government forces, they found themselves disoriented and unable to mount a cohesive defense. Amidst the chaos, a mass exodus ensued as survival became the paramount concern. Once the floodgates of flight were opened, the torrent of fleeing bandits proved unstoppable, signaling a decisive turning point in the conflict. By the break of dawn, the battle neared its conclusion. For those mountain bandits who managed to escape, safe passage was not guaranteed. Zheng Sang, Wei San, and their contingent of 30 individuals lay in wait on the fringes of the Tiger Head tribe, ensnaring any fugitives who fell into their trap. Though they labored diligently, Zheng Sang and Wei San lamented their insufficient numbers, rueing their inability to apprehend every fleeing bandit. Meanwhile, the officials corralled the panicked servants, bandits, and their families, binding them together and securing their temporary custody. With the mountain stronghold thoroughly searched, all structures were razed to the ground, and essential supplies commandeered. The captive individuals were then escorted down the mountain and delivered to Lord Shao in the city for interrogation and subsequent judgment. The annihilation of the Tiger Head tribe posed a formidable challenge, given its long-standing existence and entrenched operations. However, with limited manpower at their disposal, the government office faced a dilemma. Stationing a permanent garrison was unfeasible, and leaving too few defenders risked vulnerability to potential counterattacks from the Min family tribe and Liuhe Fort. Thus, the only recourse was to raze it to the ground. In this scenario, the advantages of a full-fledged army were evident. With an army, numerical considerations were secondary, enabling a swift occupation of the territory without undue constraint. Despite the urgency, caution prevailed. Concerns lingered regarding potential reprisals from Liuhe Fort and the Min family tribe following the escape and subsequent report of the bandits. While the likelihood of an immediate assault was deemed low, vigilance remained paramount. Consequently, the destruction, incineration, and search operations were conducted with meticulous attention to detail, ensuring no critical areas were overlooked. Key structures such as the front and rear gates, sentry towers, 3 fortresses, main hall, kitchen, warehouse, and living quarters were systematically dismantled or set ablaze, leaving no stone unturned in the eradication process. The captured individuals, numbering between 20 to 30, were pressed into labor to hasten the destruction of the mountain stronghold. With time pressing, they were swiftly escorted down the mountain under cover of night, returning to the city without delay. Meanwhile, Zheng Sang, Wei San, and their companions left no survivors among the escapees, viewing them as deserving of their fate for their years of tyranny and exploitation of the common folk. Operating discreetly from the shadows, they monitored the progress of Sun Qian and his escort team, maintaining a vigilant stance. As the group finally staggered into An's prefecture city at 4 o'clock in the morning, a sense of relief washed over them. The morning star hung low in the sky, casting a faint greenish-white hue over the eastern horizon. Remarkably, the journey transpired without incident. Escorting such a large number of captives back to the government office proved impractical. Consequently, they were divided into 2 groups, one comprising dozens of identified criminals escorted directly to the office, while the remainder were temporarily detained in the spacious courtyard occupied by Zheng Sang and his cohorts. Chapter 1898. A complete victory upon identification, the mountain bandits would undergo release and subsequent punishment, a process requiring ongoing surveillance and management. Despite the cover of darkness upon their arrival in the city, the sheer size of the captured bandit contingent could not escape notice, quickly spreading as gossip among the populace. By dawn, word had reached even the early opening vendors, causing a stir throughout the city. In response to the burgeoning rumors, Xiao Yunduan opted for transparency, swiftly issuing an official announcement to quell speculation. The public's reaction was one of jubilation and astonishment. The accomplishment of dismantling the notorious Tiger Head tribe, a feat previously beyond the grasp of the imperial forces, elicited praise and admiration for Lord Shao. The abrupt vanquishing of one of the province's long-standing bandit strongholds left the major families awestruck, their sentiments complex and uncertain. Lord Shao's astute handling of the situation garnered widespread acclaim, solidifying his reputation as a formidable and resourceful leader. The eradication of the Tiger Head tribe was a monumental achievement, acknowledged by even the most uninformed citizens. Its demise foreshadowed the potential collapse of the remaining mountain strongholds, affirming the significance of the battle at Giant Rock Gorge. The officials' claims were vindicated, dispelling any doubts held by skeptical family clans. With hundreds of captives in custody, the looming specter of food scarcity and potential unrest demanded immediate attention. Xiao Yunduan entrusted the task to Jia Heming. Over the course of 3 days, Jia Heming meticulously categorized the captives, discerning between ordinary bandits, key figures and support personnel. The ordinary bandits and leaders were to remain detained, while family members and servants were to be transferred to the nearest salt pan under county oversight, where they would undergo penance for their complicity in the banditry. Determining the duration of exemption varied for each individual, spanning from 3 to 10 years. However, outright release for these individuals was out of the question. Even if some were coerced into serving the mountain bandits, their time spent in such circumstances remained uncertain. Given the overwhelming workload of the state office, there was neither the manpower nor the time to scrutinize each captive's backstory thoroughly. Sending them all to the salt pan for hard labor was a justifiable course of action, with the possibility of eventual release for those deserving of leniency. As for the backbone of the mountain bandits who had committed numerous atrocities, they faced a different fate. Subjected to interrogation and legal proceedings, they would be duly punished according to the law, either through imprisonment or exile. With the pressing matter of the remaining strongholds demanding attention, Xiao Yunduan found himself unable to allocate resources for individual interrogations. Instead, he resorted to locking up all captives, leaving 2 challenges still looming. As the government office grappled with the aftermath of the Tiger Head tribe's demise, Hang Xingshan, Wei San, and their cohorts remained tasked with covertly monitoring the Min family tribe in Liuhe Fort. Meanwhile, strict patrols and vigilant guards maintained security in An's continent's intermediate city. Stringent measures at the city gate prevented the second in charge of the Min family tribe and others from departing. Fearful of the consequences, Fan Rian refrained from disclosing the breach of Tiger Head tribe to its leaders. Uncertain of Xiao Yunduan's fate should they discover the distressing news, she braced herself for potential retaliation, growing increasingly apprehensive with each passing day. Chapter 1899. Be more specific. They were driving her to the brink of madness. Desperate to depart the city, she wished for nothing more than their swift exit, but her options were limited. The security at the city gate remained unbending. Even the carriages of the esteemed 3 families faced stringent scrutiny. There was no exception. Despite her overwhelming anxiety, she felt powerless in the midst of Fan Rian's frantic distress. Her worst fears materialized. Perhaps they had overheard the servants' discussions. Confronted with intense interrogation, Fan Rian dared not conceal the truth. She stuttered and quivered as she divulged everything with her confession. The second in command and the others were left dumbfounded. The leader of the Tiger Head tribe delivered a harsh kick and snarled, "Ridiculous! Absurd! Foolish woman, how dare you speak ill of our Tiger Head tribe? Do you wish to provoke your demise? Do you believe I want to snap your neck?" Fan Rian let out a piercing scream as she collapsed to the ground. A sheen of icy sweat coated her brow, and a sharp pang shot through her ribs. Without glancing, she sensed the ominous bruise forming. The leader of the Tiger Head tribe moved to advance and deliver a blow, but the second-in-command intervened, halting him. Turning towards Fan Rian, the second-in-command demanded, "Continue. Tell me everything. This foolish woman is surely fabricating tales. What could she possibly know? That wretched official must have concocted falsehoods to lure us out. Yes, that must be it. Our Tiger Head tribe's territory is perilous, easily defensible, impervious to attack by feeble government forces. It's inconceivable." Fan Rian quivered, stuttering, "I am as clueless I've divulged all I know it's merely hearsay from beyond our realm under the relentless interrogation of the second-in-command," she faltered, adding more details with a tremulous voice. Yet they all bore semblance to falsehoods. As for how the government managed to attack the Tiger Head tribe, not even Fan Rian, let alone the ordinary scribes in the government, would have any knowledge of such operations. It was undoubtedly a closely guarded secret. At this juncture, the second-in-command and the others grew even more agitated. They yearned to depart the city post-haste and return to the safety of their stockade. Only upon returning to the Min family tribe and Liuhe Fort could they hope to unravel the intricacies of the situation. "Listen to me. By tomorrow at the latest, I must be out of this city by any means necessary. Otherwise I'll unleash chaos. Do you believe I won't be the first to draw blood?" The leader of the Tiger Head tribe seethed with frustration, his desire to exact vengeance palpable. Fan Rian's face drained of color and terror, her body trembling like an autumn leaf caught in a storm. The second-in-command addressed her sternly. Did you hear that? Waste no time in devising a plan to facilitate our departure. Consider the consequences for your Fan family before entertaining any foolish notions. Fan Rian staggered, nearly collapsing to the ground. She managed to make her way out of the room and into the courtyard, where she found herself overwhelmed by dizziness and blurred vision. Darkness crept into her sight, threatening to engulf her. In a haze, she stumbled into Old Lady Fan's courtyard, her vacant expression unsettling the maidservants. Once upon a time, any display of fear or disarray from the maidservants would have earned them a swift and severe reprimand from Fan Rian. Yet today she merely ignored them, her mind lost in a fog. Old Lady Fan reclined on a plush couch, her eyes half-lidded with rest. She beckoned a servant girl to kneel before her, gently massaging her tired legs. Upon hearing Fan Rian's hollow voice, Old Lady Fan instinctively looked up, her surprise mirrored in her expression. Hastily she dismissed the girl and sat up straight. What's the matter? Why do you appear so distressed? Chapter 1900. Caught and hobble. Old Lady Fan's eyebrows shot up, a wave of anger rippling across her features. Did your brother and sister-in-law do something? She demanded. No. Fan Rian shook her head, gesturing for the maids to leave. She then threw herself into her mother's arms, tears streaming down her face. Mother, please save me, please. Old Lady Fan was taken aback by her daughter's distress. How could you be so careless? Leaving evidence behind so easily. This won't end well, not at all. She harbored no qualms about Fan Rian's attempt to eliminate Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian. They had crossed a line and deserved their fate. But Fan Rian's lack of caution had put them all in jeopardy. At her mother's reprimand, Fan Rian felt a measure of relief, though her guilt lingered. But mother, what do we do now? Those 4 people are still in our house. You. Old Lady Fan's gaze bore into her. What to do now? It was a dilemma indeed. With the city under martial law, extracting them wouldn't be simple. It might be feasible for one person, but with 4 involved, it posed a significant challenge. That won't do at all. It was simply impossible to keep this matter hidden from everyone. At the very least, they would need assistance from the Guan family, their trusted maidservants and other servants. But with their involvement, the secret could easily slip out, spelling disaster for the Fan family. Yet, they couldn't abandon Themyuro. As Old Lady Fan pondered, frustration bubbled within her, leading to another scolding directed at Fan Rian. Tears welled up in Fan Rian's eyes. Seeing her daughter, once vibrant and full of life, now reduced to trembling fear, Old Lady Fan's heart softened. She couldn't bear to continue scolding her. It was Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan who deserved the scolding. If they hadn't interfered, none of this would have happened. Hadn't An's prefecture city been peaceful all these years? Why did they have to meddle? Summoning her 2 sons, Old Lady Fan grilled them for answers. Had the government truly obliterated the Tiger Head tribe, or was it exaggerated? What was the current status of the tribe? Had the stronghold truly fallen? And what about the bandits? Had most fled to the Min family tribe in Liuhe Fort? And so it continued. Second Old Master Fan seemed unusually knowledgeable. Old Lady Fan pressed for answers, growing impatient with his evasiveness. I'm neither a mountain bandit from Tiger Head tribe nor a constable from the government. How would I know? Angrily, Old Lady Fan retorted. If you know nothing, then what good are you? If you're so useless, why bother being here? Second Old Master Fan snapped back, frustration evident. If you're so bored, why not hire storytellers? Why bother with this? It's unrelated to us. Why would I bother knowing? It's nothing but bad luck. What nonsense. Keep quiet. The exchange escalated into a heated argument between mother and son. Fan Rian, burdened with guilt, found her brother's words grating and joined in, further infuriating Second Old Master Fan. First Old Master Fan, silent until now, felt an odd sensation creeping over him. Suddenly he interjected, Mother, are we somehow connected to Tiger Head tribe? Chapter 1901. Reporting to the official. Old Lady Fan was taken aback, her response sharp. What nonsense are you spouting? Though her reaction was swift, First Old Master Fan had already grasped the truth. A chill settled over his heart. Under his stern interrogation, Fan Rian reluctantly admitted her mistake. With Old Lady Fan unwilling to intervene, she found herself caught in a vicious cycle. Since you've asked, we're family after all. I might as well tell you. We need to find a solution to this. We're in this together, for better or worse. Old Lady Fan remained silent, leaving Fan Rian to explain. Initially hesitant, Fan Rian stumbled over her words as she tried to deflect. Facing First Old Master Fan's relentless questioning, she had no choice but to come clean. Second Old Master Fan was aghast, his emotions a mix of shock, anger, and fear. Pointing an accusing finger at Fan Rian, he exclaimed, You dare to court disaster. Those bandits are ruthless. Even we steer clear of them. But you? You willingly walked into their den like a lamb to the slaughter. If they spare you, who else would they spare? And yet you have the nerve to shed tears? It seems you're aiming to bring ruin upon us all. Fan Rian was overwhelmed with a mix of aggrievement, embarrassment, fear, and terror. Her brother's coldness pierced her heart, filling it with a chilling despair. Tears streamed down her face as she cried out, How is this my fault? I'm acting in the best interests of the Fan family, trying to alleviate our worries. That official won't spare us. Don't delude yourself. I'm just trying to take preemptive action. Don't be so full of yourself, Second Old Master Fan snapped, his anger flaring. You refuse to acknowledge your mistakes, yet somehow turn them into heroic deeds? It's absurd. And it's all because Mother indulges you. Old Lady Fan interjected sharply, Second son, have you lost your mind? Criticizing your own mother? I think Yiner has a point. If you weren't so useless, why would you rely on her? That Xiao has been targeting our family. If we don't act, hell never let us be. How did you Euro? Enough, both of you. Why are you arguing at a time like this? First Old Master Fan's head throbbed with frustration. He admonished them sternly, This is not the time for squabbling. We can't afford any more mistakes. What are you suggesting? Old Lady Fan and Fan Rian spoke simultaneously. First Old Master Fan glanced between his mother and sister before speaking with resolve. We need to confess to the authorities. Second brother and I will personally apologize to Lord Xiao. What? No, absolutely not. No, that's not an option. Let's split up. We need to do it now. First Old Master Fan's tone brooked no argument. I won't accept anything in between. My wife and children will leave with me immediately. Old Lady Fan shook with fury. You unfilial child. First Old Master Fan remained composed. Mother, you're leading the family to ruin. If I leave, at least there will still be descendants of the Fan family. What's wrong with that? You're old, and if you're sentenced, they'll likely be lenient. They'll be there to take care of you when that time comes. Silence. Old Lady Fan was on the brink of losing her mind. She seized the teacup and struck her eldest son with it. You traitor. How dare you? The Tiger Head tribe has been wiped out. The Min family tribe in Liuhe Fort won't fare any better. Lord Xiaomin's business. Do you truly believe he'll spare the Fan family once this comes to light? And who's to say the officials are telling the truth? It's possible the Tiger Head tribe still stands. Perhaps they've all sought refuge with the Min family tribe in Liuhe Fort? Chapter 1902. Distributing money to eliminate disasters. That Xiao may have caught the Tiger Head tribe off guard, but using the same tactic on the Min family tribe in Liuhe Fort? Highly improbable. What are the odds? And when he's gone, who will be privy to our family's deeds? Second Old Master Fan had a revelation. I see now why you've been so curious about Themuro. First Old Master Fan shook his head with a bitter smile. Ever since Lord Xiao assumed office, his actions have been nothing short of decisive. Moreover, there were reports of hundreds of bandits and their families being escorted out of An's province. Witnesses abound. How could it be fabricated? I've also heard of officials lurking near the Min family tribe in Liuhe Fort. Those mountain bandits hardly dare to venture down. Lord Xiao's might is beyond measure. Even if he ultimately fails, the Min family tribe in Liuhe Fort won't emerge unscathed. At the very least, they'll suffer internal strife. And wouldn't the imperial court send troops to quell them then? Even if the court doesn't intervene, the Min family tribe and Liuhe Fort aren't exactly paragons of virtue. If we're deeply entangled, will they allow us to sever ties easily? Will we have to live under their threat indefinitely? Can Mother guarantee that the imperial court won't crush the bandits or that our secret won't come to light? Once exposed, our family will face plunder and exile. It's like a sword dangling over our heads. There were boundaries that shouldn't be crossed. In the past, even when the Fan clan negotiated with the mountain bandits, they knew when to stop. Both sides maintained a careful distance, ensuring no incriminating evidence exchanged hands. But Fan Rian's actions were foolish. Shed welcomed danger with open arms, inviting disaster. What made matters worse was her refusal to admit fault. She genuinely believed she was acting in the family's best interests. Her stubbornness grated on First Old Master Fan. He contemplated splitting up, even if it meant enduring hardship. Old Lady Fan was at a loss for words. Fan Rian, trembling, glanced at her mother and brothers, feeling a sense of unease. Finally, after a prolonged silence, Old Lady Fan spoke in a hushed tone. If we report this to the authorities, will they not pursue the matter? Mom? Quiet. First Old Master Fan snapped at Fan Rian, resisting the urge to scoff at his mother's optimism. How could the government not pursue this? Do you realize the gravity of our situation? But if we confess, even if they do, it's just it's just forfeiting some assets and enduring a few punishments. It's far better than risking the annihilation of our entire family. Fan Rian interjected anxiously, that's not acceptable. Can the Fan family still uphold its status as one of the 3 major families in An's province? Lord Xiao will demand a hefty price. First Old Master Fan shot her a cold glare. Being associated with banditry is a capital offense, punishable by confiscation, exile, or even execution. Do you still care about our family's reputation? What use are titles and possessions if you're dead? You won't even be able to hold on to those when the time comes. Fan Rian's complexion fluctuated between red and white, her heart throbbing painfully. She couldn't bear to continue, unable to meet First Old Master Fan's gaze. Second Old Master Fan winced, his teeth clenched in agony. I side with my elder brother Euro. What choice do I have? After a prolonged silence, Old Lady Fan sighed heavily. Forget it. I won't intervene. Do as you see fit. But I have one condition. Your sister has been coddled since childhood. I won't allow her to suffer. Chapter 1903. Apology. Tears streamed down Fan Rian's cheeks. Mothra Euro, the second Old Master Fan, cast a brief glance at Fan Rian, but remained silent. Despite his dissatisfaction, he couldn't bring himself to defy his mother, nor did he entertain the thought of sacrificing his sister. The first Old Master Fan sighed heavily and nodded. Sister, let it be. Do not involve yourself any further in this matter. In essence, the burden of this issue would fall upon the first Old Master Fan. Fan Rian, finally feeling a pang of guilt, murmured softly, Thank you, Elder brother Euro. Though the situation seemed resolved, Fan Rian still felt a lingering unease. With trepidation gripping her, she found herself unwilling to return to face the second-in-command and the others, and so she declared her intention to stay with her mother. Old Lady Fan consented. The first Old Master Fan pondered their predicament. He promptly instructed Fan Rian to return and pacify the others with some strategic information. Those individuals were inherently cunning and would undoubtedly be on high alert. If Fan Rian failed to return, their suspicions would be aroused, possibly leading to rash actions. Despite the presence of guards at home, they were no match for such cunning adversaries. The consequences of injury or death would be dire, and if the culprits escaped, the Fan family would be left to bear the weight of their transgressions. Fan Rian hesitated at the thought of returning. Once, facing the situation head-on seemed manageable, but now, having vocalized her fear, she found herself devoid of courage. She simply couldn't muster the strength to face it again. Fear gripped her tightly. The first Old Master Fan's frustration nearly reached its boiling point. The second Old Master Fan's anger was palpable. Why did fear suddenly strike you now? Were you not afraid when you first stumbled upon them? You showed no fear after sheltering them in our residence for days. Yet now you claim to be afraid. Your timing couldn't be worse. You must maintain your facade convincingly. Failure to do so could spell disaster for our family. Reluctantly, Fan Rian beseeched the first Old Master Fan to hasten to the government for assistance. Despite her plea, she eventually found herself returning to the courtyard. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the first Old Master Fan wasted no time. He understood that prompt action was paramount to demonstrating sincerity. With his decision made, he promptly ordered the carriage prepared and set out without delay, heading straight for the government office. Xiao Yunduan found himself inundated with responsibilities, the court abuzz with activity. Unable to meet with the first Old Master Fan immediately, Xiao Yunduan received word, albeit at a considerable expense, that urgent matters required his attention. Xiao Yunduan didn't meet him until he received notification. Upon their encounter, the first Old Master Fan immediately dropped to his knees before Xiao Yunduan, performing 3 deep kowtows. As he lifted his head, a trickle of blood adorned his forehead, yet he seemed unaffected by the pain. With a solemn expression, he implored, Lord Xiao, I beg for your mercy. Euro. Tears streamed down the first Old Master Fan's face as he confessed, shouldering full responsibility for the ordeal. He admitted to succumbing to greed and foolishly harboring the mountain bandits in his home after being coerced by them. The weight of his actions grew heavier with each passing day, especially after the complete obliteration of the Tiger Head tribe, a testament to Lord Xiao's formidable power. It was then that he realized the magnitude of his error. In a bid to rectify his wrongdoing and prevent further harm, he mustered the courage to surrender himself. He pleaded earnestly for Lord Xiao's forgiveness, hoping for clemency for the Fan family. Xiao Yunduan had harbored suspicions regarding the Fan family, fueled by Qiao Xian's revelations. However, lacking concrete evidence, he couldn't justify ordering a search. Instead, they could only wait for the Fan family's exposure, anticipating the opportune moment to apprehend them. Unexpectedly, the first Old Master Fan had taken the initiative to confess. Despite this, Xiao Yunduan remained skeptical of the veracity of the first Old Master Fan's claims. Chapter 1904. Punishment. In Xiao Yunduan's estimation, the notion of the first Old Master Fan committing such a foolish act seemed improbable, regardless of his perceived foolishness. Conversely, the second Old Master Fan appeared lacking in the courage required for such a scheme. In contrast, the woman seeking a husband appeared impulsive and arrogant, heedless of the consequences of her actions. However, given the first Old Master Fan's confession, Xiao Yunduan saw no need to expose him. Ultimately, the outcome remained unchanged and it mattered little to him. It was advantageous that the first Old Master Fan willingly assumed responsibility. As the head of the family, his culpability would only exacerbate matters. The imperative task of apprehending the mountain bandits demanded immediate attention. Xiao Yunduan swiftly arranged for personnel to capture them from the Fan family. Turning his attention back to the first Old Master Fan, Xiao Yunduan spoke gravely, "Banditry is a grave offense, punishable by confiscation, exile, or execution. Even if you acknowledge your wrongdoing, death cannot be evaded. Do you confess?" I confess. I plead guilty. I beseech your mercy, Lord." The first Old Master Fan's voice quivered as he bowed once more, demonstrating respect, genuine contrition, and unwavering cooperation. Xiao Yunduan exhaled deeply, relieved that the lives of the entire family were spared. All businesses registered under the Fan family name will be forfeited daily. Failure to forfeit 150,000 mu of fertile land will result in a fine of 300,000 taels of silver. The principal offender shall be imprisoned for 3 years. To avoid imprisonment, a sum of 50,000 taels of silver may be paid as penance. However, during this period, the principal offender is restricted to An's province and must conduct themselves impeccably. Any transgressions will be met with dual punishment. Xiao Yunduan's words struck the first Old Master Fan with a pang of anguish. The severity of the punishment weighed heavily on the Fan clan. Despite bracing himself for Xiao Yunduan's judgment, he hadn't anticipated such ruthlessness. Each decree felt like a deep wound. First Old Master Fan ventured cautiously, "Euro Lord, the Fan family will unquestionably heed your guidance from now on. Please have mercy. This punishment is truly Euro. I cannot afford leniency in public. It would compromise my authority in the future. An's province operates under different circumstances. Even with the eradication of these bandits, lasting stability is uncertain. I consider my judgment to be lenient already." Cold sweat trickled down the first Old Master Fan's back. He dared not contest further. Hastily he nodded in agreement. Yes. Your wisdom is undeniable, Lord. My lapse in judgment to Euro. Given the gravity of the Fan family's transgressions, he had little ground to stand on, even with their assets on the line. Xiao Yunduan's expression twisted into a sneer. As long as you understand. He cast another meaningful glance at the first Old Master Fan, adding pointedly, "Remember to maintain discipline within your family. Any further indiscretion will be met with impartial punishment." He wasn't oblivious to the likelihood that the first Old Master Fan might not be the primary culprit. However, he tacitly acknowledged this while ensuring the first Old Master Fan understood that he was aware of the situation. As expected, the first Old Master Fan visibly startled, his heart skipping a beat. He nodded fervently, unable to suppress the urge to wipe the cold sweat from his forehead. Xiao Yunduan summoned Jing Sang and instructed him to draft the case for the first Old Master Fan's signature. He then tasked him with leading a contingent of men to the Fan family's residence to announce the punishment and oversee the confiscation of assets. Additionally, Xiao Yunduan directed another scribe to swiftly prepare a document, making multiple copies, sealing them and distributing them throughout the city, including at the city gate. The severity of the Fan family's offense demanded public acknowledgement and explanation, lest rumors and falsehoods spread, particularly considering the character of Old Lady Fan and Fan Rian. Xiao Yunduan understood the importance of clarity in such matters and resolved to draft another document to report the incident to the magistrate, ensuring transparency and accountability. Chapter 1905. Shaken the city. It was inconceivable for An's province to forego such a substantial windfall from the Fan family, despite the financial strain experienced by the provincial government. Upon receiving the confiscated funds and goods, meticulous counting was imperative, with a portion destined for remittance to the magistrate's office. The repercussions of this affair rippled through various channels. The Fan family was plunged into despair. Old Lady Fan, upon learning of the severe punishment meted out to her family, succumbed to the shock, fainting on the spot. Panic once again gripped the Fan clan. In the midst of the chaos, Fan Rian's gaze bore into Jia Heming. Just as she prepared to speak out, her brother, the first Old Master Fan, who had been watching her intently, swiftly grasped her sleeve, his voice a low, urgent whisper. "What are you thinking? What do you intend to say? Consider who is truly responsible for all of this before you utter a word. Let me make it clear. Dealing with bandits warrants severe measures. The Fan family is compensating to quell the calamity. Cease this. Do not stir up further trouble. The Fan family cannot endure any more." Overwhelmed with shame, anger and regret, Fan Rian covered her face, her words caught in her throat. With a choked sob, she turned on her heel and fled. Watching her retreat, the first Old Master Fan breathed a silent sigh of relief. Sealing the shops and acquiring land deeds were straightforward tasks. Yet, even for a wealthy household like the Fan family, producing 300,000 taels of silver at once proved daunting. They could only withdraw 100,000 taels from their public accounts. Any more would deplete their reserves entirely. Jia Heming proposed pawning antiques and jewelry as a means to alleviate the Fan family's financial woes. However, given the punitive nature of their situation, engaging in business transactions seemed impractical. With an abundance of antiques and treasures at their disposal, securing loans or extending credit through promissory notes appeared dubious. The first Old Master Fan found himself unable to negotiate and reluctantly acquiesced to Jia Heming's suggestion. Jia Heming dispatched a bailiff to the premier pawnshop in An's prefecture city, enlisting the aid of its proprietors to assess the valuables. Each item was meticulously catalogued, appraised, and packaged into boxes before being handed over to Xiao Yunduan. Meanwhile, the leader of the Tiger Head tribe, second-in-charge Min, and the two escaped mountain bandits found themselves incarcerated in the government prison. Despite initial resistance, the leader of the Tiger Head tribe's tirades were swiftly quelled with the insertion of a cloth gag. News of the Fan family's transgressions, their repentance and subsequent punishment reverberated throughout the city, posted on every available surface. The revelation sent shockwaves through the populace, marking the most significant event of the year. The punishment meted out to the Fan family elicited both curses and applause from the common folk. Among the various family clans, it was widely understood that the power dynamics within An's prefecture city were poised for a significant shift. With the Fan family formally ousted from one of the esteemed triumvirates, speculation ran rampant about the fate of their extensive business holdings, likely to be auctioned off by the government. Everyone eyed each other warily, eager to stake their claim in the spoils. However, it was clear that the final say rested with Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao. Given their considerable wealth and penchant for acquiring land, particularly the dry land in the mountains, it was expected they would show interest in prime farmland and shops. Thus, the others could only bide their time, waiting for the couple to make their selections before seizing their opportunities. Many harbored feelings of despondency and remorse, lamenting their missed chances. With ample resources at their disposal, acquiring additional shops and fertile land could have propelled them to greater heights. Some even harbored aspirations of usurping the Fan family's former status within a few short years. A few astute individuals, unwilling to leave their fate to chance, resorted to lavish gifts and flattery, seeking favor with Qiao Xian, hoping to curry favor and secure their positions in the shifting landscape. Chapter 1906. Split together. Qiao Xian had always been averse to accepting benefits without reciprocation, and she saw no reason to make exceptions now, especially outside of the New Year season. Despite her warm reception of visitors, she made it clear that any gifts should be returned upon departure. Moreover, she subtly hinted that if anyone had concerns or needs, they should speak openly, as she was adept at finding solutions. In An's province, the enforcement of ancient laws was more flexible, often allowing transgressions to be absolved with monetary compensation. Given the complex circumstances, it was impractical to severely punish every family with ties to the mountain bandits, as it would only sow chaos. Though some visitors hesitated to believe Qiao Xian's implicit offer, they recognized her reputation for integrity and knew better than to attempt to sway her with bribes. Certain women perceived the prefect's wife as forthright and trustworthy, thus they confided in her about their desires. Their requests were modest. They simply sought priority access to the meat soup. Qiao Xian finally grasped the underlying motivation behind the visitors' enthusiasm, unsure whether to laugh or sigh. Despite the Fan family's forfeiture of their farms and properties, Qiao Xian had no intention of laying claim to them. How could she pass up such a lucrative opportunity to acquire them? However, she wasn't interested in obtaining them for free. Instead, she resolved to purchase them at fair market value, ensuring the government didn't incur any losses. While she could feasibly acquire all the assets and fields relinquished by the Fan family, indulging to such excess wasn't prudent. With inquiries pouring in, Qiao Xian explained her intentions without hesitation. It seemed prudent to clarify matters to dispel any misconceptions. With a smile, Qiao Xian elucidated her stance to the assembled crowd. She wasn't reserving the spoils solely for her benefit. Rather, she aimed to benefit An's province as a whole. Delighted, the attendees began to strategize, preparing to acquire the properties when the opportunity arose. Despite some lingering skepticism, Qiao Xian opted not to elaborate further, confident in her decision. Some individuals, perhaps overestimating their rapport with Qiao Xian, attempted to broach the subject of potential purchases, hoping to secure deals in advance. Qiao Xian remained unmoved by their overtures. She couldn't afford to make any promises, nor did she entertain the notion. It was clear to her that when the government organized the auction, she would rightfully have the first choice. While her husband had hinted at the legality of leveraging their position for personal gain, she intended to adhere strictly to market prices. Following her selection, other buyers would have their chance, unless they had struck clandestine deals with the government beforehand. Yet, Xiao Yunduan showed no inclination towards such arrangements. The Fan clan had paid dearly for their misdeeds. Nonetheless, Jia Heming, the scribes, the officers, and the city's populace viewed Lord Xiao with reverence, considering him a benevolent figure, particularly in his treatment of the Fan family. The path of banditry was one fraught with irreversible consequences, leaving little room for redemption. Chapter 1907. The Fan family has completely declined. Even if they sought redemption by forsaking their illicit activities and embracing a lawful path, the toll they would pay was bound to be steep. Simply relinquishing more than half of their assets wouldn't absolve them of their crimes. Confiscating all of their assets would be considered a lenient punishment. In graver cases, exile was the consequence, with their descendants barred from participating in civil service examinations for 5 generations, effectively precluding their eligibility for official positions in the dynasty. Given the unique circumstances of An's province, Xiao Yunduan was not inclined to show mercy. For the Fan family, this ordeal was nothing short of a complete defeat. Among the 22 confiscated shops were prime locations that generated substantial income for the clan annually. Their loss not only deprived the Fan clan of significant sustainable wealth but also necessitated the dismissal of shopkeepers and workers. Many of these employees had been painstakingly nurtured by the Fan family over the years. Dismissing them now would make it challenging for the Fan family to resume business operations in the future. Yet, retaining them would require a considerable financial commitment. However, few shopkeepers were willing to remain under such conditions. Staying idle would disconnect them from the industry, making it difficult to re-enter in the future. Unless the proprietor was willing to offer an irresistible sum, which the Fan clan obviously couldn't afford, the situation seemed untenable. Yet, the loss of the shops and the hefty sum of 300,000 taels of silver paled in comparison to the gravest loss, the forfeiture of 150,000 mu of prime farmland. This land was the bedrock of the Fan clan's prosperity, its very essence. With this significant loss, the Fan family ceased to be the formidable force it once was. The fertile land was highly coveted in An's province, but not everyone could afford it. The Fan clan's extensive holdings were now beyond their reach. The anguish was too much for old Lady Fan to bear, leading to her collapse. This land had been entrusted to her by her ancestors, only to slip through her fingers in the end. The first and second Old Master Fan showed little concern, delegating the task of tending to Old Lady Fan and managing the aftermath to their wives and Fan Rian. The immediate priority was to address the aftermath swiftly and allow the Fan family to retreat into seclusion, nursing their wounds in private. The news of the Fan family's betrayal of the mountain bandits had already spread far and wide. Despite the mountain bandits' limited access to the city, It was only a matter of time before they learned of the treachery. Their animosity towards the Fan family ran deep, and there was no telling if they would seek revenge. Now the entire Fan family yearned to pray fervently, hoping that the authorities would swiftly eradicate the Min family tribe in Lioha Fort. Only by eliminating the mountain bandits could they hope for peace. In the midst of this turmoil, Fan Rian reproached the first Old Master Fan for his impulsiveness. What if Lord Xiao lacked the means to defeat the mountain bandits? The Fan family would suffer the consequences. In hindsight, the Fan clan could have waited and assessed the situation before taking action. Perhaps they could have avoided such a catastrophic loss. The first Old Master Fan seethed with frustration, harboring a desire to reprimand his sister and dissolve the family. Though he chose not to engage in argument with the clueless Fan Rian, the second Old Master Fan could no longer contain his disdain. He sneered and retorted, "Why didn't you consider the consequences before blaming elder brother? If not for you, our family wouldn't be in this mess." Chapter 1908, Chaos. The true culprit has never been elder brother. Both elder brother and I have forgiven you, yet you still insist on blaming him. And if those nefarious individuals remain in our midst, can you guarantee they won't cause trouble? Can you assure us you can handle them? I fear you wouldn't even survive the current ordeal, let alone any future ones. Furthermore, if it weren't for the noble act of exposing our wrongdoing, our future would have been bleak indeed. Would be doomed beyond redemption. Those mountain bandits wouldn't spare us even if they escaped. They'd cling to us like a malignant growth, tormenting our Fan family endlessly. No secret can remain hidden forever. Sooner or later the authorities will uncover the truth. And when they do, neither the mountain bandits nor the Fan family will escape unscathed. Since you invited the danger into our home, the only path to peace and salvation for our Fan family is through repentance. Do you grasp that? Even if we face consequences from the government, at worst, we'll have to leave our hometown and abandon An's province. We still possess some assets. We won't perish, but we could lead comfortable lives. But if we continue associating with those mountain bandits and seeking their aid, they'll surely be our undoing sooner or later. And who brought all of this upon us? Yet you still have the audacity to blame elder brother. Fan Rian found herself unable to prevail against him. Frustrated and angry, she burst into tears, feeling unfairly criticized and unappreciated. She insisted that she acted in the best interests of the Fan family. As her tears flowed, she recounted how she had been mistreated by her brothers when their mother was ill. Determined to confide in her mother, Fan Rian's resolve wavered momentarily. However, first Old Master Fan erupted in fury, warning her sternly, "Mother is already ill. If you have any conscience left, do not upset her further. If you dare to provoke her again, I will not spare you. You can try me." Fan Rian trembled with anger but ultimately relented under first Old Master Fan's stern gaze, refraining from any rash actions. The Fan family, like a timid and fearful chicken, withdrew into themselves, living in perpetual anxiety. Scribe Guan and Mrs. Guan also suffered, haunted by the fear of retaliation from the Min family tribe or Lioha Fort. While Xiao Yunduan was aware of their transgressions, he chose not to address them yet, biding his time. With the evidence he possessed, Xiao Yunduan could apprehend Scribe Guan at any moment. He had kept him under surveillance, waiting to see if any bandits would come looking for him, providing an opportunity to apprehend them as well. If Scribe Guan displayed the same decisiveness as first Old Master Fan and confessed to Xiao Yunduan, he might secure a chance to evade imprisonment. However, he would still face fines and be barred from serving as a scribe, but at least he wouldn't be incarcerated. Regrettably, Scribe Guan lacked such resolve. He clung to a glimmer of hope and instructed Mrs. Guan to frequent Xiao Xian's presence, hoping to glean information. If anyone approached the mountain, he could relay the news. However, Mrs. Guan found herself unable to maintain her air of superiority. She wished to forge a friendship with Xiao Xian, foreseeing potential benefits in times of trouble. Despite their well-laid plans, Xiao Xian was uncooperative. Mrs. Guan couldn't even gain access to the back office. Chapter 1909. Terror. Xiao Xian curtly informed Mrs. Guan that she was occupied and unavailable to receive her. Mrs. Guan, accustomed to using such excuses herself, found herself on the receiving end this time. The tables had turned, and it was now Xiao Xian's turn to dismiss her. Enraged by Xiao Xian's perceived arrogance, Mrs. Guan hurled insults, accusing her of haughtiness and aloofness. Despite her frustration, Mrs. Guan continued to feign hospitality towards her fellow disciples, maintaining a facade of amiability. However, despite multiple attempts, she was unable to gain entry. Qiao Xian had no intention of meeting her at present. She aimed to exacerbate the guilt of those with troubled consciences. Mrs. Guan grew increasingly apprehensive, fearing that Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were privy to damning information, hence Qiao Xian's refusal to entertain her. The couple deliberated behind closed doors but failed to devise a solution. Although Scribe Guan continued to perform his duties as a scribe, he was barred from many areas and activities. Fearful of arousing suspicion, he refrained from making inquiries. Gritting his teeth, Scribe Guan realized that Lord Xiao harbored genuine suspicions against him. With no alternative, he resolved to take a gamble. That afternoon, Scribe Guan donned a disguise and slipped out of the city unnoticed. Just 2 days after the Fan family received their compensation, preparations were nearly complete. Xiao Yunduan instructed Jia Heming to seek reinforcements from General Huaishi. The swift eradication of the Tiger Head tribe had caught the bandits off guard, but now, with the Min family tribe and Liuhe fort likely joining forces, heightened vigilance was imperative. Even Hang Xingshan couldn't ascertain the adversary's true strength, having never had the opportunity to scout their stronghold. Uncertainty loomed over the presence of undisclosed trump cards. Xiao Yunduan couldn't afford to gamble. A miscalculation would lead not just to failure but to numerous casualties. Upon hearing Xiao Yunduan's plea, Jia Heming readily pledged his support. General Huaishi, commanding a force of 20,000 men responsible for Huaishi Prefecture's security, was duty-bound to combat banditry. Were it not for the formidable nature of the An's province bandits, he would have intervened earlier. There was no reason for General Huaishi to refuse Xiao Yunduan's offer. Even if it was solely for the sake of 100,000 taels of silver, he would undoubtedly accept the mission. The meager salary provided by the imperial court hardly covered expenses for equipping the army with necessary supplies, weapons, or additional horses. Year after year, he submitted memorials, yet progress felt as sluggish as a clay ox trudging through the sea. With 100,000 taels of silver at his disposal, there would be no such worries. Jia Heming wasted no time in action. 300,000 taels of silver swiftly changed hands, with 1/3 dissipating before it could even warm up. Xiao Yunduan calculated that half of the remaining 200,000 taels would be allocated to the magistrate, leaving 100,000 taels in the court's coffers. Additionally, the proceeds from the auction of the Fan family's farmland would be sufficient to reward everyone and devise a strategic plan. Oh, and there was also the matter of the Yamen owing his wife hundreds of thousands in silver. Repayment would have to be made gradually. The Min family tribe and Liuhe fort swiftly mobilized. They had little choice but to act swiftly, for caution mattered little now. With Xiao Yunduan having obliterated the Tiger Head tribe, they knew he wouldn't let them off the hook. Chapter 1910. Foreign aid. After dealing with the aftermath of destroying the Tiger Head tribe, it was inevitable that Xiao Yunduan would set his sights on them next. This had escalated into a fight to the death. There could be no resolution until one side emerged victorious. Even if they professed to forego vengeance, the prefect would never trust their words nor rest easy. In that case, why grant the wretched official ample time to prepare? Why not seize the initiative as he had done previously, catching him off guard? This time they resolved to strike first, targeting the key figures: the prince, the king, and the monarch. They would mobilize their finest warriors and storm An's prefecture city, assaulting the prefect's office. They would exterminate the official's family, plunder the treasury, and unleash havoc upon the city. Then, before the imperial court could react, they would vanish into the mountains. They understood well that if this operation succeeded, it would send shockwaves through An's province and Huaishi prefecture, and even reverberate to the imperial court. An attack on the court's offices, the slaughter of its officials, and the plundering of its warehouses would surely compel the court to respond with military force, if only to save face. The uproar this time would surely surpass that of 10 years ago. But this dogged official was formidable. Even catching him unawares would demand a hefty toll. Such an endeavor would significantly deplete their strength. How could they then withstand the might of the imperial court's army? To evade trouble, fleeing the village was inevitable. An's province was intertwined with boundless mountains. Once they delved into the depths, no matter how many troops the imperial court dispatched, it would be akin to scattering beans into the mountains. Feudal. They were accustomed to mountain life. With their numbers, they had no need to fear the wilderness beasts and venomous creatures. In 2 or 3 years, this affair would be resolved and fade from the imperial court's memory. Then why couldn't they return? The pitiful remnants of the Min family tribe and Liuhe fort's leaders looked worse for wear. Suppressing their anger, fear, and uneasy emotions they would never confess euro, they suddenly cast caution aside and resolved to fight to the death. They were a band of outlaws from the start. What did they have to fear? The sight of blood only fueled their excitement. Thus, the two factions collaborated closely, handpicking a force of 400. After 2 days of meticulous preparation, they set out from the mountains under the cover of night. Utilizing the darkness and rugged terrain to their advantage, they arrived outside An's prefecture city in the dead of night. The vanguard, clad in dark garments, approached the city gate with aggressive agility. Their eyes gleamed with wild fervor, reminiscent of wolves and tigers. They eagerly awaited the signal to storm the city, brandishing their weapons in anticipation of exacting vengeance and sending the dogged official's family to their demise. As the agreed time arrived, a low, prearranged bird call rang out. With a creak, the city gate slowly swung open. Upon reaching a sufficient gap, the bandits roared triumphantly, wielding an array of weapons as they surged forward with murderous intent. Meanwhile, their accomplices lying in wait in the nearby forest 2 to 3 miles away, heard the clamor and surged forth to join the fray. Chapter 1911. Final battle. To their dismay, as they surged through the city gate, they watched in horror as it began to slowly close once more. The front ranks froze, their eyes widening in disbelief as they stumbled to a halt. Behind them, the momentum of those charging forward caused a chaotic collision, nearly knocking them off their feet. Amidst the confusion, cries of pain and confusion filled the air. Before they could grasp the situation, a barrage of arrows whistled through the air like a swarm of locusts, sending the bandits into a frenzy of panic. In the blink of an eye, flames erupted from all directions, and the heavens reverberated with the thunderous clamor of approaching soldiers. Over 2,000 bailiffs and soldiers descended upon the hapless bandits with relentless ferocity, catching them off guard and sealing their fate. It was a slaughter, utterly one-sided. The mountain bandits screamed, cursed, and wailed in despair, their frantic attempts at escape resembling headless flies darting aimlessly. But there was no escape from the relentless onslaught closing in around them. The encirclement tightened, gradually closing in on the mountain bandits until none remained, including their leaders and most steadfast members. It had been ages since the soldiers had tasted such a decisive victory, and their jubilant cheers echoed across the battlefield. Meanwhile, the elite bandits who had entered the city earlier met a similar fate, swiftly dispatched by the waiting bailiffs and soldiers lying in ambush. Not a single one managed to escape. The individual who had facilitated their entry into the city wasn't Scribe Guan, who had initially colluded with them. By this time, Scribe Guan and his wife found themselves incarcerated in the prison. With the battle won, over 100 soldiers remained behind to clean up the aftermath, while the rest swiftly regrouped and set off towards Liuhe Fort and Min family tribe, their resolve unwavering. Over 200 sets of clothing were stripped from the fallen bandits, quickly donned by the soldiers who adopted their guise to march at the forefront of the advancing column, their determination evident in their demeanor. Once in the mountains, they divided into 2 groups, each headed towards Min family tribe and Liuhe Fort respectively. Jia Heming's visit to General Huaishi went smoothly, thanks to Xiao Yunduan's generous funds. Jia Heming promptly handed over 50,000 taels of silver, leaving Qin Wuyo and the other generals beaming with delight and heaping praise on Lord Xiao's generosity. They extolled his virtues, hailing him as a true exemplar, demonstrating that even a scholar could possess such courage, swiftly dealing with the bandits without hesitation. It put their own reluctance to send troops to shame. Qin Wuyo wasted no time in mobilizing his troops, leading a force of 3,000 elite soldiers as per Xiao Yunduan's instructions. They approached An's city stealthily, taking advantage of the dense forest cover that shrouded the region. Their presence remained undetected, concealed within the secluded valleys and thickets of the An's province hinterlands. Only a select few, including Xiao Yunduan, were privy to this plan. The sudden shout caught most of the bailiffs off guard. Meanwhile, as the battle raged outside An's prefecture city, the 2,000 soldiers had divided into 2 groups and stealthily positioned themselves near Liuhe Fort and Min family tribe. They rendezvoused with the reinforcements that were rapidly approaching. With dawn breaking on the horizon, their presence was barely discernible. Chapter 1912. Extermination. At that moment, with about an hour left until clarity dawned, vigilance was at its lowest. Soldiers donning counterfeit attire and brandishing weapons easily breached the mountain stronghold's doors. As the skirmish erupted, those left behind began to realize the dire situation. However, it was already too late. With superior numbers and unwavering morale, the soldiers swiftly overwhelmed the intermediate mountain bandits, who were accustomed to preying on the weak. Having suffered consecutive setbacks and diminished strength, panic and apprehension consumed them. In the face of a formidable foe, they trembled in fear, some even losing control of their bladders and crying out for their parents as they fled in every direction to preserve their lives. As the sun climbed higher, its rays piercing through the forest canopy, the birds began their morning rituals, chirping and soaring into the sky. The battle between the two villages came to a decisive conclusion, with the light of day illuminating the aftermath. The soldiers emerged victorious. After more than a decade, the malignant presence in An's province had been eradicated completely. Throughout the city, jubilation erupted and word spread like wildfire. Lord Xiao's name commanded utmost respect. It was his efforts that had bestowed peace upon their lives, banishing the specter of marauding bandits. Families, particularly those with young daughters, no longer harbored the same fears. No longer did they hesitate to let their 7- or 8-year-olds venture outdoors, for the threat of abduction had been vanquished. With the dust settled, the aftermath unfolded, intricate and demanding. Each bandit, along with Scribe Guan and his cohorts, faced severe retribution whether by the sword or by exile. None could evade justice. Fortunately, with the invaluable assistance of Jia Heming, Xiao Yunduan found a moment of respite. Reflecting on it all, Xiao Yunduan couldn't help but marvel at the competence of his deputy prefect, the governor's right-hand man. Jia Heming navigated through countless bureaucratic hurdles, freeing Xiao Yunduan to focus on matters of greater import. Without him, even a moment's reprieve would have been a luxury beyond reach. Indeed, not only Xiao Yunduan but also the other scribes gaped in astonishment. How had they not realized the extent of Jia Heming's abilities? It seemed that Jia Heming had been hiding his capabilities all along. Xiao Yunduan lacked prior experience as a prefect, and thus had no basis for comparison with other deputy prefects, excluding the extreme case of deputy prefect Guan. He knew Jia Heming to be competent, but the revelation of his true abilities left him awestruck. Jia Heming's capabilities far surpassed those of an average individual. In essence, he was the equivalent of 5 ordinary deputy prefects combined. Previously, some had harbored doubts regarding Jia Heming's appointment as deputy prefect. Yet, witnessing his actions dispelled any lingering skepticism. They couldn't help but admire Lord Xiao's discernment in selecting personnel. As everything settled, October came to an end and November began. An's province finally experienced tranquility. Xiao Yunduan initiated discussions about rewards and a celebratory feast. People felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. After toiling tirelessly for so long, it was finally time to unwind and revel in the moment. The banquet unfolded at the state office, with the 2 prominent restaurants in the city fully booked. A plethora of delectable dishes and beverages flowed continuously. Xiao Yunduan led hundreds of government officials in merry revelry, indulging from noon until late into the night. Meanwhile, Qiao Xian arranged a separate banquet in the back garden, extending invitations to all the officials' wives. Both inside and outside, the atmosphere brimmed with jubilation. Chapter 1913. Managing aftermath. Everyone exuded energy and excitement, their hearts aglow with warmth and confidence. With Lord Xiao, the prefect, at their side, worries about the future dissipated. They knew they had made the right choice in following him. A promising future lay ahead, infusing everyone with vitality as they embarked on what promised to be a splendid day. Gone were the days of confusion and aimlessness. With each toast raised in honor of Lord Xiao, admiration swelled as it became evident that he remained sober despite the revelry. His remarkable tolerance for alcohol only served to deepen the respect everyone held for him. Lord Xiao's prowess, evident in his defeat of the mountain bandits, elevated him to the status of idol among countless bailiffs and constables. The following day, Xiao Yunduan unveiled the reward list he had collaborated on with Jia Heming and others, ensuring that everyone received their due recognition. Even the most ordinary of bailiffs received a reward of 10 taels of silver each, while Jia Heming, Hang Xingshan, Sun Bai, Sun Qian, Zheng Sang, and others were granted the highest amount, €500 taels each. Various increments of 200, 150, and 20 taels were distributed among the remaining recipients. The rewards were deemed exceptionally fair and just, leaving no room for dissatisfaction. Each recipient eagerly lined up to claim their silver reward, their faces illuminated with joy. Qiao Xian, in a gesture of goodwill, also distributed rewards to those at the back of the court, though modest in comparison, simply to share in the joy and excitement. Jia Heming and his wife were overwhelmed with happiness and gratitude. When Jia Heming returned home bearing a bounty of banknotes, Mrs. Jia could scarcely believe her eyes, her smile uncontainable. Anticipating a more modest reward, Mrs. Jia had already envisioned how to allocate 10, 20, or 30 taels. However, receiving 500 taels of silver left her at a loss for how to manage such unexpected wealth. Both Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao, known for their benevolence, refused any compensation for their efforts. Their altruism only strengthened the resolve of Jia Heming and his wife to stand by them, assured that following their lead would only enrich their lives further. Following the rewards, the assets of the Fan family and the spoils obtained from the 3 villages commenced auction proceedings. The mountain bandits lived a rugged existence, showing little regard for conventions. They eschewed productive endeavors, relying instead on coercion to obtain what they needed from affluent families. Failure to comply meant their goods would be forcibly taken. Consequently, their stockpile atop the mountain was meager. Moreover, during the breach of their stronghold, opportunistic allies pilfered some of the remaining wealth, further depleting their resources. The spoils, including gold, silver, food and weaponry, were primarily sourced from the national treasury. Only a scant selection of jewelry, fabric and a few ornamental items were available for auction. Additionally, a handful of houses clandestinely acquired at the mountain's base were put up for sale, though their association with the bandits rendered them undesirable to wealthier buyers. Ultimately, these items fetched relatively low prices. Jia Heming, unencumbered by such concerns, purchased a 3-acre courtyard situated in a somewhat secluded area within An's prefecture's intermediate city for a mere 100 taels of silver. Qiao Xian, mindful of her status as the prefect's wife, refrained from making a purchase, despite the attractive prices. Nevertheless, she couldn't help but feel a twinge of regret at passing up such a bargain. Even the residence of Scribe Guan found its way to the auction block.